grocery clerk Mary Beth Rodriguez is suing her cousin, iron worker Stacy Buttram, for unpaid rent, utility bills, and the return of videotapes. Stacy is countersuing, claiming Mary Beth assaulted her 12-year-old daughter, Amanda Bishop.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 387 on the calendar in the matter of Rodriguez versus Buttram. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I don't want anybody to make me shout today because I have a sore throat. Okay?
Yes.
Miss Rodriguez, the defendant is your cousin.
Yes, ma'am, she is.
According to your complaint, there was a time she moved into your apartment, took over a lease of a roommate of yours. She moved out in rather unpleasant circumstances because there was some altercation involving a daughter of hers.
Yes.
And you.
Yes.
You claim that when she moved out, she owed you for rent. She owes you utilities, according to you?
Yes, ma'am, she does.
For 2 months?
She owes June's rent, which was a bad check. She owes September's rent that she never paid.
How much was the rent?
The rent was $1,000. She paid $500. I paid $500.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this bounce check in June, because up until June you had paid the rent.
I bounced a check with the landlord in June, and he never got back to me until after I'd moved out that it had bounced. I knew it had bounced, but I was waiting for him to make what he wanted to be done with it.
So that you owe her the money for June?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Good. See, you make things easy. I'm so happy that you're not aggravating me. $500 you owe. Now, what about September's rent? When did you move out in September?
I moved out the first week in September.
Is that right?
She moved out August 29th at approximately 12 o'clock at night.
And you want her to pay September's rent?
Yes.
Why?
Because on the lease that she has signed, it says that she was there until October the 1st of 2002.
Well, that's an interesting issue, because there was an incident involving her daughter.
Right.
Because she has a counterclaim for assaulting her daughter.
Right.
So I want you to tell me what happened, your version of what happened the end of August.
At the end of August, her daughter was very out of control. She was not taking responsibilities in the house. I was picking up after her. I was telling her that she had to flush the toilet, pick up her clothes, pick up after herself. Her daughter was smoking in the house at 12 years old. I told her mom and I told her daughter, I do not allow this, and I will not allow this. So Amanda said she was getting ready, and she was all dressed in black. She had black lipstick on, black mascara. I said, you look like a devil's child. So I grabbed her by the back of the neck. Come here, Chantal. I grabbed Amanda by the back of the neck just like this. I said, you will not be in this house unless there's an adult in here. I pushed her out and I went to work. I shut the door behind me, and that's what I had done.
And that's when you left, Miss Rodriguez. You cannot expect the defendant to stay in your home when you've thrown her daughter out of your home. Do you understand? Her daughter's 12 years old.
I didn't throw her out. I told her that she was not allowed in there because she was smoking in the house because my house would have burnt down.
Is there anything in your lease that says that you can't smoke?
Yes, it does.
Let me see. Okay. Did anyone else smoke in the house other than her daughter?
Stacy smoked, but she smoked outside of the house, so no.
Now, go ahead.
On this piece of paper right here, when we moved out, you give 30-day notice, they give you a letter. Well, in the letter where her daughter Amanda was in the small bedroom, there is smoke damage to the windowsill in the house and on the floor in the bedroom.
But that's not why you threw her out on that day at the end of August. You threw her out because she was wearing black lipstick, a black
No,
hat.
I threw her out because she got very verbally with me, and she wasn't...
She's not responsible for September's rent, madam. You threw her daughter out of the house. She can't be expected to remain in the house while her daughter's out of the house. The only other thing we have to address are the utility bills. What was your arrangement with her with regard to
utilities? The utilities were to pay half of everything.
Okay, what about the utility bills?
I had paid utilities up until, I think it was May, when we both bought cars. And we decided to get insurance together because it would be cheaper. And they were going to take it directly out of my checking account because Mary Beth did not have a checking account.
Mary Beth, pay attention, don't play with your papers. She's telling me why she didn't pay the utilities after May.
When they were supposed to take $320 out of my account for our insurance, and they ended up taking $520 out. She said, just pay it and I will take it out of your payment for the utilities.
Does that sound familiar?
I told her for May's not to worry about May's, that I would pay May's utilities, and I did. Stacy only paid me $200. She owes me $718. This is the cable bill, the public service bill, the phone bill, and
Does
the
that
water
include
bill.
September?
Yes.
Well, take September off.
Okay.
Take May off,
Okay.
right?
$534.37.
How much were the utilities a month, madam?
Utilities ran between $30 to $50 for the water bill, $70 to $100 for the phone bill, and between $100 to $50
So
for
is
the
what
public
you're
service.
doing when you come up with $534 taking the high end or the low end?
The high end.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Well, when she threw my daughter out of the house, she physically threw out of the house. I have a picture of the marks that she left on my daughter.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Amanda Bishop,
How old are you, Amanda?
12, gonna be 13 in 7 days.
Tell me how you do in school, Amanda.
Lately, I've been getting lower grades because I haven't been working that hard.
Miss Beltram, are you satisfied with your daughter's performance?
She's a little lazy at school lately, but for the most part,
What about her friends, Miss Beltram?
she has no friends.
Really? Why not?
She's just at that stage in her life where she's exploring, she's becoming a teenager, and she's...
What about her smoking, Miss Beltram?
She was smoking in the house, and when I found out she was smoking in the house, I dealt with it.
What about smoking at all when she's 12 years old?
Well, I don't like her to smoke, but I'm not with her 24 hours a day. There's no way I can completely stop her.
Is this your only child?
No, I have a 22-month-old baby, too.
Other than smoking, do you take anything else, Amanda? Ever experiment with any drugs, Amanda? What kind of friends do you have?
I used to have a friend named Emily. She had a mohawk, and Mary Beth didn't like her. I don't have her anymore. I have Brittany, and that's about it.
You feel as if, Amanda, that you could benefit with some counseling?
Maybe.
Did you ever talk to your mother about that?
We went to counseling. It was for me and her because we were not getting along well, but we got that taken care of. We have...
Yeah, but now you're not doing so well.
I'm working on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her daughter had ran away. Stacy literally had taken her daughter and literally threw this little girl on the floor.
And later today,
Maybe he's not as smart as all your other friends. When he pays $220 for 4 tickets, he thinks that he's going to at least get to hear a song, right? And he got to hear nothing.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Beth Rodriguez says her cousin, Stacy Buttram, owes for rent, utility bills, and for the return of her daughter's videos. Stacy says Mary Beth physically threw her daughter out of the house.
I'm talking about the other little things that may be bothering you. Who are you working that out with?
My grandma. I talk to my grandma a lot. We're really close.
She live close by?
Mm-hmm. In walking distance.
So you go over there and talk to her?
Almost every day.
Good. That's a good anchor. You help your mom take care of the baby?
Mm-hmm. Change diapers, baby baths, that kind of stuff.
Your mom says no.
Sometimes, not 24/7.
Your mom approve of the way you dress?
I don't dress.
It's only clothes. She's a teenager. She's going to go through this stage. It's the stage.
No, she's not a teenager.
Well, she'll be
She's not a
teenager.
teenager. She's 12. 12 is not a teenager.
She'll be a teenager in 7 days.
But 6 months ago, she was 12.
Yeah, well, she's just going through a stage.
I want to tell you something, Miss Beltram. It's easy to be a friend to your kids and much harder to be a parent.
Well, I try to be both.
If you have to make a choice, choose parent, because you can have a lot of friends, but somebody has to give her the right direction. Somebody has to say, these are the rules. While you live under my roof, I own the air that you breathe.
That's exactly
You
what I
will
tell
do
her
the
too.
following. This is what you will do. When you get old enough and you can live on your own, you can go and do that, and then you will own your space. Up until that time, I own the air that you breathe. I work, I bring in the food, I bring in the electricity, I pay the rent, I do whatever else is necessary, and you have certain responsibilities. But also, if your daughter is having some difficulty, then what you're supposed to do is explore the whys. I'm glad she has her grandmother that she can talk to If that's good enough, that's fine. If it's not, I suggest that you get somebody else that she can talk
She's a
to.
really good school counselor, too. She talks to a lot.
Okay. Did your cousin hurt you when she put you out the door?
She dug her nails into my arm, and she squeezed really hard on the back of my neck.
Yeah, well, she has no right to put her hands on you. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So you have no right to put your hands on her, and there has to be, yes.
It was, what happened was, she came into the house, and she was just going to grab something and then go back. And I was on the phone with my mom, and she looked at me and she said that I looked like a demon child, and she asked me if I looked in the mirror that I was ugly, and I told her, I said, "You're ugly, bleach blonde," and she said, "That's it," and that's when she threw me out of the house.
She has no right to put her hands on you, and she did. You understand that? The judgment would be for you for $900. That is $400 for the utilities and $500 for June's rent. But I'm going to award you something on your counterclaim because it is unacceptable for somebody to put their hands on another person's child.
Except for, when we lived together, she literally, her daughter had ran away. When her daughter came back, Stacy literally had taken her daughter and literally threw this little girl on the floor.
Just she's allowed to do that. Well, she's not allowed to do that. That's not the right thing to do. But she's her mother. You're not. A stranger cannot put their hands on somebody else's child. Because when you walked out of the house and slammed the door, because you were going out and her mother wasn't home, you made no provisions for her.
But her mother knew at the time, her mother knew that me and Amanda weren't getting along, so she was taking her daughter to her mom's house. Because she said that to not have us as a conflict, she'd rather have Amanda not there with us.
You have no right to put your hands on somebody else's child. Period.
Okay.
So on your counterclaim, I'm awarding you $350, which means that you still owe her $550. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She physically tried to have her dog attack me.
I don't want her near my child. My child's terrified of her.
We're done. I don't even associate with her, and I will never associate with her.
Retired beer salesman Tony Malavenda is suing maintenance man Robert Breen for assaulting him in an airplane. Robert says Tony took his seat. He is countersuing for a ruined vacation.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 92 on the calendar in the matter of Malavenda versus Breen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Malavenda, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you on an airplane.
That's correct.
The defendant says it was just a tap. And he is counterclaiming for ruining the vacation he was planning with his wife, including the loss of some theater tickets because he was hauled off of this plane and he missed his theater and he ruined his vacation. Is that right, Mr. Breen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Tell me when this incident occurred.
On December the 1st of year 2001,
Where were you going?
to Las Vegas
And where were you boarding the plane?
at Lindbergh Field in San Diego.
Okay, tell me what happened, sir.
At 12 o'clock, we boarded the plane. I say we, it's Dane, Lay, and myself. And we sat down, and there was a...
Did you have assigned seats?
No, there are no assigned seating. We had boarding cards, and we had sat down. It was in the middle of the plane. 15, 20 minutes later, they announced there was a mechanical. Would everybody deplane, leave their luggage, and return to the same seat? It would take no longer than an hour. At that time, we did. And we came back within the hour, and they said, well, it's going to take longer to get the part than we thought it was. So they said, we're going to take another piece of equipment. Everybody go to gate 6.
Another piece of equipment, meaning another plane?
A plane, yes, ma'am. Then at that point, both my friend and I went to gate 6. They opened up the gates, and they said, don't worry about seats, just grab the first seat you come to.
It was the same airlines?
Yes.
Quiet.
And
Not assigned seats?
No, ma'am. There was no assigned seats.
Okay.
So I approached, and the first row was taken, the second row was taken, the third row wasn't. So I let my friend, he doesn't fly that often, I said, go ahead and take the window seat, Dane, because you don't fly. I think he's flown once in his life. He says, fine. So I sat in the middle. I buckled in, and then at that point, the row of the stream of people are coming in. Then this gentleman comes up to me, and he says, you're in my seat. Move. Not please, not anything. And I laughed. I thought he was kidding, like, hey, this is first class, isn't it? You're in my seat. I thought he was, you know, kidding. So at that point, I laughed. And I said, you got to be kidding. That's exactly what I said. You got to be kidding. And at that point, he smacked me on top of the head. And it was so hard, they heard it in the back of the plane. And it
What did he
dazed me.
smack you with?
At that time, I didn't know. I was told it was a book. And I don't know if the palm of the back of his hand hit me. I don't know if the book hit me. I do not know. At that point, he also made the statement, wait until I meet you in Vegas, or wait until I see you in Vegas. It took 5 seconds. And he kept on walking, and I said, I want that blank out of here. And the flight attendant came over, and I explained to her what had happened. They called the harbor police. They went to get him, and they got the wrong person at first. And, and then the party who was facing me, she spoke up. She says, I work for the San Diego Police Department, indicating that she wasn't a police officer, but she worked for them. And she said, I can identify him. And that she got up and went back and identified him, and then he was removed from the aircraft. A few minutes went by, they came and got me. I exited the plane. Would you like to sign a complaint? And I said, yes, I would. And at that point, that was the end of that incident. Got back on the plane, we went to Vegas, and he shows up the same hotel I'm at. Coincidence, and there's no way he would know. So apparently it was coincidence. But in my mind, I don't know how his mind's working, and I don't know what is going through it. So I avoided him.
Did you follow through with the complaint, sir?
Yes, I did.
What happened with that complaint?
They dismissed it because it was just too costly to go ahead and prosecute him.
Because you had no serious injuries.
Injury. I was dazed and I have constant headaches, but that's beside the, I mean, you know.
Okay, fine. Now I'll hear your end of the story.
Well, it was also December 1st. It was, we got there at 9:15 for a 12:30 flight. There are no assigned seating, as he says. It's a cattle call. We had boarding passes number 2 and 3 because we had been there since 9:30 in the morning waiting for the 12:30 flight. We boarded the plane, and it was a mechanical problem. We were in the third seat back from the entrance of the plane at that time. They said that they were going to need to move us to another plane, and they did ask us at that time, quote, let's make this as friendly and convenient as possible. Would you all please take your current seat when we move to the new plane?
Okay.
They did repeat that several times while we were...
Yes, ma'am.
They did repeat that several times while we were changing from one plane to another. Got onto the plane. I don't believe I've ever seen this gentleman before in my life. Whether he was in the window seat, I don't know. This gentleman and his friend who was in the windows...
Try looking at me when you're testifying, sir.
Sorry, in the aisle seat. I asked him to move. I did say, you're in my seats. What do you think you're doing? Move. He laughed, said, what, are you kidding me? No way, not going to happen. Waved me to go to the back of the plane. I asked him again to move. He continued to laugh in my face. I did at that point lean over the back of the seats in front of him and did mention that when we reached Las Vegas, he might prefer to have me as his friend. Not the most intelligent thing that I've ever done, but that is what I said. At that point, he stood up and said, oh, come on, I'll be your friend. Come to my hotel. I'll buy you a drink. We'll have a great time.
You're lying. That's a lie.
No, I'm not.
No, that's a lie. That's not even in your answer. That's not even in your answer, sir. Don't make up stories as we're moving along here. Don't make up stories as you move. He's sitting in his seat. He's buckled in. You lean over. And what you said in your answer was you acted foolishly, but you tapped him with the soft end of a paperback book.
After he stood up and had words with me and was in my face laughing, waved me to the back of the plane one more time. Yes, he was standing up to provoke me. And yes,
he was provoking you? Are you out of your mind? I mean, are you out of your mind? Is there something chronically wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You saw what he did. What did you say to him?
I didn't say much. I was
shocked. You were shocked. You said to him, what's wrong with you? Does he have a bad temper?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony Malabenda says fellow passenger Robert Breen assaulted him on an airplane. Tony claims Robert thumped him on the head with a book.
Now, sir, you put your hands on somebody over a seat in a plane? Is there something wrong with you?
Ma'am, after a 3-hour wait to get onto the plane...
Everybody waited for 3 hours. Everybody had a deep plane. Everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't the only one. You weren't taking a private plane, were you?
No.
So you're getting on a plane. Somebody is sitting in a row that you had been on in a previous plane. You told them to move. They didn't move, and you hit them. That's what happened. I mean, that's the long and short of it. You can't do that. I mean, what did you say to him? You're his wife. What did you say to him?
I was ahead of him in line, and I didn't actually speak to my husband. I was watching the situation.
Stand up here. You get back in your seat. You saw what he did. What did you say to him?
I didn't say much. I was
shocked.
Yes.
You were shocked.
I was shocked at the actions of both men, but
No.
it escalated to what it had.
You were shocked. You said to him, "What's wrong with you? Does he have a bad temper?"
No, not really.
Not really. I doubt
He
that.
needs to be provoked, but
By being provoked, it means somebody was sitting in row 3? That was his provocation for hitting somebody?
the gentleman was pushing his buttons. He was.
No. He said, "You're in my seat, move." He said, "I'm not moving." He said it again. Then he leans over and he said to him, "When we get to Vegas, you want to be my friend." That's a threat. That's before anything happened. That's before he got up. So your counterclaim for your destroyed vacation is dismissed because you deserve to have a destroyed vacation. Now, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You're suing the defendant for $5,000. That's overkill.
Yes, ma'am.
Big time. You weren't injured. But he certainly has to be taught that this is not behavior that is acceptable. What are all these papers that you have to show me? I'm just curious.
These are the police report and the witnesses report.
Let me just take a look at it quickly.
In my witness office. Yes, ma'am.
You know, Mr. Breen, you don't look like an unintelligent man, bad-tempered, but not unintelligent. You just recounted to me what you said exactly. You made up this whole big story about what he said to you, and that he got up and he was confrontational, and you made a whole story, right, about what he said to you.
I didn't make a story at all, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
sure you did. And you remembered and you recounted it how many months later? 6, 7, 8 months later, you recounted that statement to me as if it was gospel truth. Is that right, sir?
That's what happened on the plane, Your Honor.
All right. So what I'm suggesting to you, sir, is do you think one's memory becomes clearer as time goes on, or do you think it becomes dull?
It becomes a little dulled.
Of course. So I'm going to read you what the police said. Police said, suspect Breen made the following statement, and then it talks about having to deplane one plane for another, and you were told to take the same seats. Breen asked him to move, and Malavenda laughed and refused. As Breen was walking away, and this is your statement, Malavenda made a smart comment which Breen could not recall. So you're saying you're one of the few people who, after a period of time, without hypnosis, without truth serum, things become clearer than they were on the day of the incident. So to the police, you couldn't recall what he said to you, but to me, 8 months later, you recall every word. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The way he said, "You're in my seat, get out." I laughed. I thought the gentleman was kidding.
I was wrong to hit him.
I saw him hit Tony upside the head very hard with a paperback book.
This book, on the open part, pretty much like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus White. Step forward, please.
23-year-old accounting clerk Kendra Johnson is suing her ex-boyfriend, truck driver DeBario White, for unpaid loans and for the cost of a tuxedo rental.
Ms. Johnson, you and the defendant were dating for a while, according to your complaint. You say he owes you for 3 things. First, he owes you for a $100 loan that you made so that he could turn on his cell phone. Then you claimed that you invited him to be your escort to a wedding, and he owes you for the tux. And the final thing, I believe, was a visa bill for a restaurant. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. And also, there were some shoes that were purchased as well. I have receipts for those.
Shoes for the tuxedo?
No, shoes for his children.
Okay. Mr. White says that he owes you for absolutely nothing. You paid for these things for a variety of reasons. Is that right?
Everything was gifts, correct.
So let's start with the first loan that you claim you made to Mr. White. When was that?
Last year, around middle summer, end of summer, 2000.
Middle summer, end of summer. I need a date.
August.
No, don't guess and tell me. Think.
It was in August. I don't remember which exact day.
And how long had you been dating him when you made this loan?
I had just met him, maybe 2 months I'd been dating, if that.
And why did he need money?
Well, he said that he needed the money to turn on his cell phone so I can get in touch with him. He had no other form of contact for me to call him. He lived with his parents at first, then his brother, which he claimed that I was not allowed to call there, living with family They didn't want, there were other children, his brother's children. So, no other form of contact. Can you help me? Fine. If I'm supposed to be in a relationship with you and I care about you, that's something I'm going to do to help you.
So what did he say? You gave me a whole story. What did he say? I don't have a cell phone? Well, my cell phone was turned off?
My cell phone got turned off. I later found out it was in his sister's name.
He said, my cell phone got turned off and?
I need money to pay to turn it back on.
And you said okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So you gave him the money?
Yes, I gave him the money.
Good. That was in August?
Yes.
Is that right?
No, that's not, Your Honor.
Well, so tell me your version of the events.
You
couldn't be much worse than hers.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything about a loan.
I met this woman at work. We worked together for quite some time at NIH, and she had a crush on me, okay?
Listen.
So...
Mr. White, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Cell phone.
Right.
Let's get to the cell phone.
Mm-hmm. My cell phone did get cut off, and she was complaining that she wasn't able to talk to me. You know, I was like, well, I got a lot of bills right now. You know, I don't have time to turn my cell phone on. She said, I'll give you the money. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. You know, later on, you know.
So she gave you the $100?
She gave me the $100, correct.
And you turned on your cell phone?
I turned the cell phone on.
That sounds right. Right?
No, ma'am. He did not turn the cell phone on.
He didn't?
There was more money that was owed on the cell phone.
So he didn't turn the cell phone on?
No, he did not.
Well, in that case, she must have knew my bill then, right? I mean, she gave me the money. She just gave me $100. How she know it was more money owed on the bill?
Did you turn your cell phone on?
Yes, I did.
I mean, around the time that she gave you the money?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to contact him?
No, ma'am, not by that cell phone. By other phone numbers, family's phone numbers,
Well,
etc.
this was in August that you gave him the $100. He didn't do what he was supposed to do with the $100. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kendra Johnson claims ex-boyfriend DeBario White owes for unpaid loans and for a tuxedo rental.
Now, when did you invite him to participate with you in this wedding?
October 20th.
So after he misled you in August and September, then you said to him, would you go to a wedding with me?
Yes.
Smart.
I was still dating him at the time, so it's...
Listen, that's your choice. Did you ever say to him, where's the $100? Where's the cell phone?
I did. He said, well, I'm in and out, you know, job here, job there. I promise I'll pay you back. We're in a relationship. I'm good for it.
I don't believe he said that to you, Miss Johnson, at all.
No, I didn't.
Miss Johnson, I don't believe he said that to you at all. No. I'm watching your face. I'm a real good judge of that.
That's right.
Okay. I don't need your validation, sir.
Okay.
Now let's get to tuxedo. You were invited to a wedding in October. You asked him to be your escort. He needed a tuxedo. Tell me about it.
Originally, he went with me to get fitted for the tux.
You invited him to be your date.
That's correct.
And he said what?
He would.
Good. So you went for the tux.
I put the down payment for the tux, which was $30 to be fitted.
Right.
Later on, I had spoke with him here and there. We didn't get to the rehearsal. He didn't know what was going on. The day of the wedding, I called him. He called me, said that he needed to get a hair shape up and that he would be able to meet me. I picked him up. He says, I don't have the tux yet. I said, well, the wedding's in 20 minutes. It's closer to him than from me. He said, well, I don't have any money. I have no way to pick up the tux. If you want me to be in the wedding, you need to buy the tux.
So you did?
I did.
Good.
Later on.
Did you dance with him at the wedding?
We didn't get to be in it because he was late since he had to get his hair cut. I never got to walk. I never got to be in it at all. I was there when they were walking out.
Now, Miss Johnson, my next question is, when was the visa bill that you claim he signed for when you went out for dinner? Was that before the tux or after the tux?
That was before the tux.
Before the tux. So that was in September?
The date's on the receipt.
I don't
have the receipt.
Than that.
I have it, ma'am.
Can I see it?
Sure.
That was like our first date that she took me out on. And she paid for
September
dinner.
6, 2001.
9/6.
Those are other receipts as well.
September 6th. So tell me about September 6th.
There was a place called the Oasis in Silver Spring, Maryland. Somewhere he had been with family. He said it was a really nice place. You can dance. There's comedy. There's, you know, you can sit down and have something to eat. Never been there before. He took me there. We danced a little bit. We had something to eat. We talked. We mingled. There was another party or something. I met some people. And later they give me the receipt for the food purchased. And I'm looking at this as, I didn't sign this. That's not my signature. Apparently he signed my signature.
So?
It's against the law. You can't do that.
So, if it's against the law, either you say that I'm giving back my credit card because I didn't authorize payment for this. You don't invite him to be your date for a wedding a month later.
That's correct. However,
Well, you did.
when they handed me the receipt, when you go out to eat, I had like a little handbag, you know, something you carry when you go out. I immediately just put the receipt in my bag because not knowing to look at it. And then later on, I went through all my receipts and I kept them just in case I needed it.
Your Honor, she told me go up and pay for the bill. She gave me the credit card. I signed her name and everything. That's not, against the law. She gave me permission when we sat down.
I didn't say it was against the law. Miss Johnson is grasping at straws.
Right. She told me go and pay for the bill.
I don't need your validation. I also don't want to hear your voice because it sounds to me as if you were taking financial advantage of this lady. Did you ever take her out for dinner?
No, not really. I wasn't.
No, not really. So you never took her out for dinner? Did you ever give her any money?
On occasion.
Give me an example.
Money here and there when we go out.
Like what?
As far as like drinks or something, if we go out dancing or something like that. But no, not really. I ain't spend no big money on her.
I'm not talking about big money. I'm asking you went on a date. Did you pay?
Not really, because she wanted to pay for everything. She wanted to pay for everything, Okay.
All right, listen, you must be absolutely wonderful. Miss Johnson, these were not loans, madam. You didn't make any loans to him. And if you came here and said he signed a credit card and it was an unauthorized use of my credit card and I never saw him again because he's an untrustworthy bum, then I would say to you, oh, maybe you got a case. But you give him $100. Listen to what you did. You give him $100 to turn on his cell phone. He doesn't turn on his cell phone. Then you go out for dinner together. According to you, if I was to believe what you're telling me, he went into your pocketbook, took your credit card. When you were someplace else, he paid the bill with your credit card. You got the receipt, right? Realized that he had forged your name to a bill, right? What did you do? Call the police? No. Tell him to take a walk? No. You invite him to go to a wedding with you. Then, the last minute, you go to have a fitting for the tuxedo. You put down the $30 for the tuxedo. Not him, you. And then you wonder why Mr. Irresponsible over here wasn't ready to go to the wedding. I mean, the wedding's in 2 minutes, and then he says to you, I don't have my clothes. I'm going to go like the emperor, right, with no clothes. You tolerated it. That's your problem. Get over it. Put a period. Forget it. Mr. White, you must have something that I don't see. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel great, just another case of a female trying to buy a guy.
Things happen, you learn in life, people lie to you, get over it.
She's just a deranged person. I'm just glad it's all over with.
I will never ever loan money to a man again.
She thought she had me, but she lost it now, so forget about it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Alejo versus Just. Step forward, please.
Grocery store owner Kimberly Alejo is suing her former friend, housekeeper Katie Just, for stealing $300 from her home. Katie denies the charge.
Miss Alejo, the defendant was a babysitter of yours.
Yes.
And it is your claim that she took $300 in cash from your home.
Correct.
When was this?
February 28th.
Tell me about the cash. Where was it?
My husband put it under the VCR before he left, and he told me that it was
What
there.
time?
About 9 p.m.
And when did the defendant arrive?
She got there at about 7 o'clock that night.
She arrived at your house at 7 o'clock?
She was there before my husband left.
When did you notice that the money was missing?
About 10:30.
And you were home with her?
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in the house?
My children.
Did you ask her about the money?
No, I didn't, because she told me that she had put it up in the closet, and I thought that maybe it had fallen.
How did the issue of money come up at all?
I had just been operated on about 2 weeks ago, and they had to reopen my incision. And so I was on a lot of pain medicine, and that was the whole reason for her being there, was to help me with the kids, because I didn't think I could. And I thought that at about 10:30, I thought, I got to get up and put that money away. Put it in my billfold so I remember to take it with me in the morning. And when I got up, it wasn't there.
So at that point, you asked her about it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say? What did you say to her? What did she say to you?
I asked her if she'd seen the money, and she told me that she put it up under the towels in the closet. And then I proceeded to take everything down off the shelf where the towels and stuff were, and there wasn't anything there.
When you looked for it in the closet, was the defendant present?
Yes.
Did she say anything at that point?
She told me that maybe the kids must have got a hold of it. Again, my kids couldn't have reached the shelf in that closet.
What time did she leave?
About 3 o'clock in the morning.
Was that when she was supposed to leave?
No, she was supposed to stay the night.
Why did she leave at 3 o'clock in the morning?
She told me that she didn't feel comfortable spending the night at people's houses.
Was there any further discussion of the money?
She then called me the Saturday following, March 2nd, and told me that she would pay me the money back when she got her income taxes back.
Well, tell me about that conversation.
She just called me and told me that...
Called you and said what? Hello, what's your first name?
Katie.
Hello, this is Katie.
And told me that the officer that had went down to question her about it after I reported it had made her feel really bad and uncomfortable, and she was just about ready to have a nervous breakdown about it, and that she would just pay me the money.
Did you have that conversation with her?
Yes, I did. It went somewhat like it.
Well, tell me about it.
I called her, and I told her I would pay her when I did get my income tax money because I didn't want to get harassed by the police officers or anything anymore. And after a couple days, I thought about it. It's like I'm more or less telling her I did supposedly take this money.
That's what it was saying. I'll pay you the money when I get my income tax money back.
And I thought about it after I had the phone call with her, and I said, I'm not going to pay her back because that's making me look like I did take the money.
Well, tell me about what you saw when you saw this money. You did see the money.
Yeah, I didn't know how much there was there.
Where did you see it?
It was on the floor.
So you saw a bunch of money?
Yeah, I just wrapped it up and put it up on the
Wrapped
shelf.
it up in what?
Nothing, I just wrapped the bills up.
Wrap them in what?
In each other. I didn't wrap them up into nothing. Like, you know how you fold money and put it like in your...
Well, fold it, yes, but that's not wrapping it up. You folded it, yes, and what did you do with it?
And I put it on the shelf.
In the bathroom?
In her bedroom.
And how high up is this shelf?
High enough where the two girls shouldn't have gotten it, but there was a chair in there too.
Mm-hmm. Now, at some point you left early that evening, or in the wee hours of the morning. Why did you leave at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Because I tried to sleep and I couldn't, because I don't feel comfortable sleeping at other people's houses because it's not my bed, my house.
But you had agreed to stay with her the night?
Because she called me and nagged me for 25 minutes.
Okay, but you had agreed to stay with her the night?
Yes.
Ms. Aleo, I read your papers, and in your papers you indicate that your daughter was a witness.
Yes.
This little girl, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a discussion with your daughter?
She brought it up to me later.
Your daughter?
Yes.
Your daughter is 6.
Uh-huh.
So you understand I can't take her sworn testimony, but I'd like to hear what she has to say. Have you done any preparation of her for today?
I've only told her that we were coming and that she was going to probably have to talk to you.
Okay, fine. Tell me her name.
Vanessa Ramirez.
Okay, Vanessa, could you come sit up here for me, please?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Alejo says former friend Katie Just stole $300 from her home. Kimberly claims her 6-year-old daughter Vanessa saw the whole thing.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi.
How old are you?
6.
Do you go to school? What grade are you in school?
Kindergarten at Sunset.
Have you been in school before this year? Or is this your first year?
No, it's my before year.
So you were there before. Could you sit still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So you think you're a real smart girl? Are you smart? Do you remember a day when this young lady was babysitting for you? How many times has she taken care of you?
Like about 3 times.
Has she been nice to you?
Yeah,
You like her?
not anymore.
But did you before? Did she play with you?
She put cartoons on to watch.
What's your favorite cartoon?
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. I have a son-in-law who loves SpongeBob. Okay. Do you remember a time when she was babysitting for you and there was some money?
Mm-mm.
You don't remember that?
But I know she stole the money.
But you didn't see her with any money.
I told my mother and my dad put it under the VCR. And
Tell me what you saw. Don't tell me what you told your mom.
Okay.
Tell me what you saw with the money.
I saw that she put it in her pocket and she had the money, but my sister first had the money and then...
How did your sister get the money?
Under the VCR.
How old is your sister?
2.
So she reached up and took the money? And what happened to her when she reached up and took the money?
She got the whole thing and she was playing with it.
Where was she playing with it? On the floor?
Yes.
Were you playing with her?
Mm-mm. I was watching cartoons.
So what was she doing? Spreading the money all over the place?
Uh-uh.
How was she playing with it?
Like going like this, picking them up.
Okay. And then what happened?
I told my mom that Graciela had the money and then Katie came in and got the money and put it, like folded it and put it in her pocket.
You saw her fold it and put it in her pocket? Did you see where she went with it after that?
Yes.
Where did she go with it after that?
In the living room.
Did you see what she did with the money in the living room?
She wasn't doing nothing. She didn't even pull it out.
She just had it in her pocket?
Yes.
When your sister was playing with the money, was it all in one pile or was it in lots of piles?
It was folded and it wasn't in any piles.
Can you count?
To what?
10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Were there more than 10 bills or less than 10 bills?
Less.
How many bills were there?
Like about $3.
$3? Thank you.
There you go.
What were the denominations of the bills that your husband left you?
There were 2 $100 bills and 2 $50 bills.
Anything else you want to tell me?
That Kim went back to check I'd see if the money was there. And then it wasn't. We searched through her bedroom, the clothes that she had on her, my clothes that I had on me, my shoes, my pillows, and everything. We did not find it. I ended up going home at 3 o'clock that morning because I could not sleep there. I called her the next morning, came up, and helped her look for it again. And we still could not find it. So she ended up going to her store that she runs, and I ended up going home.
Did she come back to your house the next day?
Yes, she did. But she did not help me look for it.
What was the purpose of her coming back the next day?
To see if I needed her to babysit that day. And at that point, with her leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning, that money being gone, I thought, you know, if I can't trust her with cash in my house, how can I trust her with my kids?
Did you know that your 2-year-old had gotten her hands on that money?
After the fact, yes. Vanessa says that she told me that, but I was on some very strong pain medicine because they reopened my incision, and I don't remember her saying that to me.
Miss Aleo, I'm sure that the police told you what I'm going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
There is a possibility that Miss Just took your money, but there is also a possibility that she did not. I mean, I can think of other scenarios that might have happened with that money if your kids are inquisitive and managed to get it from under the VCR. So it's possible that they could have gotten it from where she says she put it. And before I am prepared to label someone a thief, I have to have much more evidence, even in a civil proceeding, because I think that before you say somebody is stolen, you have to be really comfortable with that. So only Miss Just knows whether or not she was just or not and took your money. But I cannot award you the $300 that you're missing. Do you understand?
The only thing that I have to say about that is that the towels were still all folded, still in the same place where I'd left them. There's no way my kids got up there under the towels and pulled the money down.
I probably believe you. I mean, I believe you. I believe that there was money, I believe that it's missing, and I believe that there is a substantial possibility that you took it. But I'm not prepared to label her a thief. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So next time you tell your husband that if he wants to leave some money for you, to take it and put it in your wallet.
Okay.
Put your wallet in your pocketbook. You the husband? The pocketbook someplace secure, and then we don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah, but I told him like, put in the pocket. She told me put in the VCR.
Is that what you told him?
I told him to put the money up for me.
Okay. Then it's not your fault. I was prepared to blame you, but it's not your fault. Got a new babysitter?
Yes, I do.
Good. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought Judge Judy was fair enough for both of us.
She was my friend, and that money should have never disappeared because it was me and a friend and my children.
She never had no proof that I did take it.
What are my 3 children, a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 2-week-old, going to do with $300?
I was never charged with it.
I tore the beds apart, I tore the dressers apart, I moved the dresser, I moved the bed, I tore everything out of the closet.
My nerves were shot at the time anyways.
Don't trust anybody.
If you are babysitting for somebody, make sure the person that you're babysitting for keeps money up from children and stuff.
Don't even trust your best friend.
Gonzalez and her husband Edward are suing Mary's sister, Nurse Joan Pulaski, for renting out their home without permission and then selling their household appliances.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 126 on the calendar in the matter of Gonzalez versus Pulaski.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Is this your sister?
Yes, it is.
According to your complaint, some time ago you purchased a house for your mother. The house was in close proximity to where your sister lives.
Yeah.
And the intention was that your sister would take care of your mother because her health was failing. You live far away.
300 miles.
Your mother did pass away when?
In December, we buried her Christmas Eve.
Of 2001?
Yes.
And it is your claim that your sister did some unauthorized things with the house. She rented it to someone without your knowledge, and the renters caused damage to the house. You want the money that she took in rent and also to pay for the damage done to the house.
She also sold the appliances that we had in the house.
Your sister says she made certain executive decisions with regard to the house. In whose name is this house titled?
Ours, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
That's correct. You know, Your Honor, I originally thought it was my mom's house. As a matter of fact, I thought it was the sweetest thing they ever did was buy my mom a house as a gift.
Just what? Okay. House is titled in your name?
Yes,
Correct,
it is.
Your Honor.
After your mother passed away in December, what kind of communications did you have with your sister with regard to the house?
When she agreed to keep an eye on the house and I gave her a key for emergencies, seeing it's in Chicago and it's wintertime, I was in constant contact with her, and I have a copy of my cell phone bill showing how many times I did call her, and it stops when she refused to start answering the phone.
How come you hadn't put the house on the market for sale?
We didn't put it on for sale.
No, we weren't sure what we were going to do with the house.
Well, what were your options?
Sell it, rent it.
Okay. Was there any financial arrangement between you and your sister that you were going to pay her any money with regard to keeping an eye on the house?
No.
No.
Now, when did you go to the house and find that there were tenants there?
This was on April 12th, 2002. We had a chance or an opportunity to go there to check up on the house and find out why she hadn't been answering the phone. We walked in, I found the door unlocked. We found cars in the backyard. I seen my sister standing right there as soon as I walked in the house. And she's standing there with her hands on her hips, and she sees me. And the first thing out of her mouth was, "They won't pay me the second month's rent." It was amazing, unbelievable.
You say there were appliances that were sold. What appliances were sold?
Washer, dryer, refrigerator, 2 TVs, VCR.
Air conditioner that came with the house.
We came in, everything was gone.
When you came in on April 12th, everything was gone?
Everything was out of the house. I asked her how come she did it. She says, I needed money. So then I confronted her about the house. She says, well, you weren't living there. And I says, we didn't tell you to sell anything. We didn't tell you to rent it. I mean, it's not yours to rent, and it's not your things to sell.
Yeah. Okay, I'll hear from you now. Your mother passed away in December of 2001. You were watching the house. So, tell me what happened.
Oh, my sister says she saw strangers there. This is a friend of ours from grammar school. Her son needed a place to stay. The house was vacant, and I was in between jobs, so I thought I would make it a win-win situation. I would make a couple extra dollars. I was going to tell her, I didn't stop taking your calls. That's all made up. I never stopped taking your calls.
Just a second. Just talk to me.
Okay, I'm sorry. But anyways, I just thought I was helping somebody. I really thought, my friend's son needed a place to stay. He just had a newborn baby. There's an empty place there. Nobody's in there. It's the middle of winter. I was going to rent it out, but then he was short on money, and he didn't have any money, and I wanted to wait to tell her until I had money. I was going to tell her, but I wanted to pay her. And I really
tell me about
sold
the appliances
because I needed the money. When he didn't come up with any money for rent, he gave me $200, and I needed to pay some bills too, and those aren't my sister's appliances. Those are all my mom's things. She may have bought the house that I thought was my mother's, but she didn't. Those are my mom's things.
What things were your mom's?
It's my mom's furniture.
No, we're talking about appliances.
Okay, my mom's appliances, my mom's furniture, my mom's everything that was in there.
Let me ask
it's
you
not
this
my
question.
sister's.
When you purchased the house,
Yes.
was there a refrigerator in the house?
No, Your Honor, we had previously purchased all of these appliances for my mother before we even bought the house for her. She had those in her apartment, and we have receipts.
You have her
using our
receipts?
charge card
No,
to pay
those
for
are
the
our
items.
receipts.
No, just a second. Wait. You purchased those things for your mother.
Correct.
As a gift.
Yes.
For her old apartment.
Yes.
Right.
Once you make a gift to someone, they're no longer yours. So if your mother moved those things into the house, those items of personal property become part of her estate. Don't belong to you. Are there 2 siblings, just the 2 of you?
No, Your Honor.
How many children are there?
We have 2 others, but they're not involved in any of this.
Well, I can't make any judgment with regard to the appliances. The appliances are not yours. Do you understand that? Once you purchased them for your mother and gave them to her for her old place, they became her property, not your property anymore. The fact that your sister sold them is wrong, but it's not just you that's involved if you have 2 other siblings, because if you wish to make a big deal about it, then what you do is you have to get all 4 siblings, decide what property was sold for, and each of you would get 1/4 of that. You would not get 100% of it.
So if we buy it and pay for it ourselves, it's not ours no more.
No, it is not yours. Not if you give it to somebody else. It's not yours anymore. You gave it to somebody. I'll put it to you another way. Let's say that your mother purchased appliances for you and gave them to you for your house, which is what you did for your mother.
Yeah.
And you moved them into a second house or a third house. Whose appliances are they?
Okay.
Whose appliances are
Ours.
they? They're yours. Somebody gave you a gift. Your mother-in-law gave you a gift. You made a gift to your mother. There was no arrangement with her that the title to this property would remain in your name, that you were just loaning these items to her. You were being good children.
May I make a comment about what Joan had said earlier?
Yes.
She did know that the house was under our name
Oh, you
because
did not, you guys, and you know.
Yes, you did. Even if you didn't care. Even if you didn't care. You had no right to exercise any control over that property. And if you didn't know that the property was in their name, then you should have found out. And I'm going to tell you why else I know that you knew the property was in your sister's and her husband's name. Because if you needed money, it's clear from what you say, you were in desperate need for money because you had bills to pay, you were in desperate need for money, you would have said to your sister, we have to sell the house because I need the money because I'm really stressed out now financially.
Well, Judge, can I say something?
Sure.
The situation just came about. I didn't go look for a tenant. It's just somebody needed.
You knew the house was in their name, and you had no. Yes, you did.
No, Eddie. You could ask Eddie. I called him. We talked when he bought that. I was crying. I told him that it was the sweetest thing he ever had done for. I ever heard of anyone doing for somebody.
How old was your mother?
She was in her 70s, and he gave it to her as a Christmas gift.
Baloney.
That's what they. That's what
he was.
Hey.
Listen. Why in the world would these people, who are not stupid people, make a gift to a woman who was probably not in very good health, in her 70s, and knowing that if she passed away in 2 months or 3 months, that property would become part of an estate and would be divided among 4 children?
No, I didn't.
4 children.
I didn't look ahead to what would happen.
You don't look ahead at all, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
she admitted it to the police that she collected $600.
I didn't tell the police any of that.
Oh, quiet down.
I'm not trying to, Your Honor. I'm
reading something. Could you be quiet? I mean, are you on medication?
I'm not on medication.
Good, then be quiet.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary and Edward Gonzalez say Mary's sister, Joan Pulowski, rented their home and sold their belongings without permission. Joan says she thought the house was owned by her deceased mother.
Okay. How much did you get for the rent for the first month?
$200.
What kind of damage was done to the property?
Your Honor, they told us they paid her $600.
They didn't.
Sir, listen to me. That's hearsay.
Your
Could
Honor,
I see the damage that was done to the house?
She admitted it to the police that she collected $600, and I have a copy of the police report.
No, I didn't.
That's a copy of the police report, and she admits that to the police.
I didn't tell the police any of that.
Well, that's the police report.
Oh, quiet down.
But I did not, because I know what they gave me. And that's why I was telling you that they didn't give me the rest, otherwise I would have given you something. You guys, I'm not trying to, Your Honor,
I'm reading something. Could you be quiet? I mean, are you on medication?
No, I'm not.
Good.
I'm not on medication.
Good, then be quiet. Well, this doesn't say that she was paid $600. This says she agreed to rent them the premises for $600 a month since it was vacant. It doesn't say she was paid $600. Okay. Now let me see photographs of the damage that was done to the house.
The Polaroids, Your Honor, are the damages after we cleaned the place out.
It took us 2 days to clean the place up, Your Honor.
And the house, we bought the house, it was totally remodeled. Everything
It
was
had brand
new.
new rugs, walls. It was all brand new done. There's holes everywhere. The rugs were totally trashed.
Your Honor, my mom lived there for a little while, too. It's not like it was brand new.
Your Honor.
How long was your mother there?
Just 2 weeks. But we were all, my 3 kids were there, too. And
Well, if your kids were there and your mother was there for 2 weeks, then you're responsible for this damage.
Well, maybe, I don't know exactly what damages they saw. I didn't see it all, but I know
Well,
that
I'll show you.
I know the carpets weren't clean. I know that was one of the things she said.
There were
but
brand new carpets, Your Honor, when she moved
those
in.
carpets were not clean when I gave my friend the key.
Then your kids made a mess of the carpets.
I'm sorry.
Well, then you pay for it.
I could have cleaned it. I own a carpet cleaner, but they wouldn't allow it after I...
Show this to the defendant, please. She's
You know,
outrageous.
Your Honor,
You're outrageous.
really, this is a little bit going overboard. My mom would be very outraged that we were in court about this.
That's probably true. Your behavior was outrageous.
And then, Your Honor, I ran out of film, and I couldn't photograph the screens on the windows. They're either missing or split, broken.
Listen to me. She didn't take care of your property. You weren't gone very long. From December 2001 until April, we're only talking about 4 months.
Well,
in 4 months, they made a real mess out of the premises, because I believe that at the time that your mother moved in, you would not have moved your mother into a place that was not immaculate.
Right.
Well, you know, these people, they were only living there a month, Your Honor. That damage was done in a month. They busted the back door. They busted the bathroom door.
I see.
Totally
Yeah,
trashed it.
I see. And I see what you're suing for, which is really pretty minimum, $3,900. Cost you more than that to clean up this mess. All right. It's very unfortunate. I'm sure your mother would not like the fact that two sisters are in court fighting with each other over this kind of thing. But your actions were absolutely 100% wrong and inappropriate. How much did you pay for this house?
$70,000.
I think you ought to sell it. Probably be a good idea if you sold it.
I agree.
Yeah, you don't want to live too close, because you never know. If you're not there, you're an absentee person. Your sister might get angry with you one day. You never know what's going to happen. In any event, it'll cost you at least $3,900 to put this place back in order. That's what you're suing for, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My mother would be rolling over in her grave right now.
She's not family. She did not do what family does.
I think my sister's making a big deal about it. It's a big baby.
She's a user.
We could have worked this out together, but no.
Personally, I'll never have nothing to do with her.
Don't fight over money. It's not worth it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chandler versus Chapman. Step forward, please.
Teacher James Chandler is suing the ex-wife of his girlfriend's son, 21-year-old collections agent Trista Chapman, for wrecking his car. James says Trista took the car off-road and broke the axle.
Mr. Chandler, the defendant was driving your car and wrecked it.
That's correct, ma'am.
And you want her to pay for it.
Absolutely.
You didn't give her permission to drive your car.
That's correct.
How do you know her?
She is my girlfriend's son's ex-wife.
Girlfriend's son's ex-wife.
At the time they were estranged.
Now, I'm going to make a guess that the son's name is Brian.
Correct.
Because she says she had Brian's permission to drive the car. So you tell me how that came about and why you don't think you're responsible for the damage to the car.
I had asked Brian to use the car to go to a doctor's appointment.
Were you separated from Brian at the time?
Yes.
So you called Brian. And who was Brian living with?
His mother.
And the plaintiff?
Yes. I had asked him to use a car to go to a doctor's appointment. He had told me, let me call you back. Let me call my mother and ask her if it's okay. He called her, called me back.
No, you don't know what he said to his mother.
No, I don't know what was said.
But he called you back and said what?
Yes, it is okay for you to use the vehicle.
Fine.
He came, he picked me up. I dropped him back off at home. And from there, I went to my doctor's appointment.
Where was your doctor's appointment?
In Apple Valley.
Did you go alone?
Yes.
So you drove alone in the car?
Yes.
Both going there and coming home?
And when I went back, I picked up my friend to give me a ride from Brian's house to back home to where I live.
So after you finished with the doctor's appointment, you picked up a friend, and the friend was supposed to do what?
She was following me over to Brian's house to pick me up from there and take me to my home. Because
So you're driving a car, and your friend is driving in another car?
Yes.
So you're always alone in the car?
No, I had a friend with me in the car.
What friend did you have with you in the car? And where did you get her from?
She was the friend that was coming with me. When I went to pick up the car.
Pick up what car?
When I went to pick up the car from Jim's house, she was...
No, just a minute. First, this is Jim.
Yes.
I thought Brian came and picked you up.
He picked me up from my home to get the car. But this was after the doctor's appointment when I went to go to my friend's house for her boyfriend, because she doesn't have a driver's license, for her boyfriend.
Now we're getting someplace else. Just a second. Ms. Chapman, we're going to get the story straight. I want you to understand that. You had Brian's permission to take the car and go to a doctor's appointment and then come home.
No, I had told him that I had to pick up a friend to get my own ride back home, and he said that was fine.
So you picked up a friend after your doctor's appointment, and your friend was driving in your car with you?
Yes.
And where did you go with your friend?
We went back to Brian's house.
Fine. So now you drop off the car. Where was the accident?
On the way leaving my friend's house when I had picked her up. And they were following me. I went through the desert and I hit a rock.
Went through a desert?
It was a shortcut through.
You took a shortcut? On a dirt road?
Yes.
And you hit a rock?
Yes.
And that's when the whole axle broke on the car?
Yes.
So explain to me, Miss Chapman, why you are not responsible for the damage.
Because he's saying that I did not have permission to use a car. I did have permission to use a car When the accident happened, I called Brian and I told Brian what happened. He said, do not worry about it. I will pay for it.
Well, Brian's not here. Brian's not here. You're driving the car and you had permission to drive the car. Is that right?
Yes.
Why aren't you responsible?
Because he had told me that he was going to pay for it, and I said that was fine.
So sue him.
Yeah, he should sue him. He shouldn't be suing me.
You sue him because you have to pay for the damage. And if you have somebody that said to you, don't worry about it, I'll pay for the damage, then you'll be standing on that side and Brian will be standing on this side. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Let me see the bills to fix the car.
I also have photos of the damage.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this lost wages for November 19th?
I'm a substitute teacher, and I had to take a day off of school and turn a job down in order to go retrieve the car. So it cost me $120.
Get that from Brian. By the way, just for my own information, did you speak to your girlfriend and find out whether Brian had ever called her?
No, I did not, and she wouldn't have given permission to use the vehicle anyway.
Well, you don't know that.
I know her.
Probably not.
He had permission to use the vehicle to go to and from work because she had already damaged their other vehicle. In fact, 2 other vehicles.
Would you describe the interior of the car, sir, when you went to retrieve it? Because I see you have cleaning and deodorizing here.
Yes, ma'am. There was a broken cigarillo butt in there and French fries all over the floor and dust from the desert. The exterior of the car was also covered in dust.
Talking about the interior of the car.
It was covered.
Did you stop for lunch?
Yes, I did.
Well, what'd you leave the car a mess for inside?
I was going to clean it before I took it back to him, but obviously I couldn't clean it if there was damages to the car, and a tow truck came and picked it up.
Well, why couldn't you clean it out before the tow truck took it?
Because I walked up to my friend's house to call the tow truck for I could do it, but somebody had called and said that a car was banded in the desert, and the police came and the tow truck came and towed it before I could get back to the car.
It's not a difficult case, Mr. Chandler. You have a judgment in the amount of $624.74. That's everything that you're suing for, with the exception of your day's wages. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, the story that was told in court was entirely different than the story I got.
He can't hear the story from me, so therefore he could hear whatever he wants.
I was told that she was driving with a friend and heard a noise and pulled over to see what it was and hit the curb at 10 miles an hour.
I just think that I'm happy that whatever happened and he stays out of my life.
The attitude I got was, take me to court. I'm not going to pay for this.
Yes, he could take me to court. I don't care.
I have allowed her husband to use the car to go to and from work.
The whole thing is that he says I did not have permission to use the vehicle, and as far as I knew, I did have permission to use it.
He loaned the car out to somebody else without my consent or knowledge.
The person that gave me responsibility to use it should pay for the damages.
I think justice is finally been served.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Andres versus Brazil. Step forward, please.
Ryan Andres is suing his ex-fiancée, sales rep Trisha Brazil, for an unpaid loan for office equipment. Trisha is countersuing for the return of personal property, unpaid rent, and harassment.
All right, Mr. Andres, your lawsuit says that the defendant, with whom you lived and you have a child with, owes you money for a loan for office equipment that allowed her to work in the house.
Correct.
Equipment that you purchased, she used, when you separated, she took, and you want her to pay for it.
Correct.
The defendant says there was never a discussion of a loan for this office equipment. It was a way of her earning a living while you were together because you were incapacitated for a period of time. You were not working. She had to support both you and your son, the son that you share. She has a counterclaim, which is a whole bunch of nonsense, and Miss Brazil, let me deal with it right now, because I want to keep this case as clean as possible. You say that he took a camcorder of yours, that he owes you for rent during the time that he was incapacitated last year or the year before, that he said he would pay you for, and a chair. Okay? That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you that I think that's all a bunch of nonsense, and you never would have filed a counterclaim had he not sued you for this office equipment.
That's true. I desire to be in court, and I would have never. But
Absolutely right.
But part of what he's suing me for is the camcorder, part of the...
I'm not interested. So let's understand each other. This isn't a tit for tat. He has a lawsuit. I'm going to get to his lawsuit. And I'm not worried about your chair and your camcorder and this old rent bill that he was supposed to pay you if he ever got better.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian Andres says ex-fiancée Tricia Brazil owes for an unpaid loan for office equipment.
That was your arrangement. You were a family, despite the fact that you didn't have a marriage license. You were operating as a family. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And at a time when you were injured, you discussed with the woman you were living with, the mother of your child, working from home. Is that right? Now, take it from there.
It wasn't so much her simply working from home. She was working for a company and decided that she could work from home, be close with the baby, and that's what we had talked. That's how the whole story got started. I looked at it. I had a large amount of money coming in from my 401k, and I said, well, we could do this. Since I am on disability, I had a very bad broken leg. What I was going to be able to do work-wise was really in question. I did warehouse work, and I taught karate on the side.
You had a very bad broken leg, and you were incapacitated. Right, and you had a baby home.
This wasn't simply an opportunity for her to work from home. The deal was she was going to work from home while I was on disability. She was going to teach me kind of tools of the trade so I could learn something new, so I'd have something to fall back on.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm in marketing. I do graphic design work.
And you can do that on your computer at home?
Yes.
Okay, fine. When you broke your leg, is that right?
Correct.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes.
How long were you in the hospital?
Maybe 4 days, then I had to go to a rehabilitation hospital for another month.
And then you came home?
No.
And then where did you go?
I had to go to my mother's house. She has a 2-story home, and the bathrooms are upstairs. My mom's house was...
More convenient. So you stayed with your mom for how long?
Probably 2 to 3 months. And then I would go over to Tricia's house. I would stay the night with her. This is all when she was still pregnant with our child. And during the day when she went to work, she would drop me off back at my mother's house so I could...
Just she took care of you. You went over there, she picked you up, she took you back. Now, after the baby was born, where did you live?
After the baby was born, I lived with Tricia.
Moved into her house?
Correct.
Okay. Were you ambulatory at that point?
Yeah, with a crutch.
With crutches?
A crutch, eventually a cane, yeah.
Okay, with crutches. Now, the baby was born at that time?
In January, correct.
Who took care of the baby?
I did.
With your crutches?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Good for you. Okay, so explain this loan to me. So now I've got office equipment that she was going to work from out of the house. How did the loan come about, Mr. Andres?
Our deal was she wanted to work from home. I was in a position where I can make that possible. And in return, I wanted to gain some type of knowledge from this. So that
good. So, keep
it
going.
never happened. Time went on. She continued to use the equipment that I bought for her job that she was at. It never happened. In September, I ended up going back to work for a warehouse in our area. She kept working where she was at, eventually left, and became self-employed.
I don't see a loan, sir.
I bought the stuff, Your Honor. I have the copy of the cash.
So what?
That's the loan.
That's not a loan. That's not a loan, Mr. Andres. Where do you get a loan from that? You had a family. The family had to be supported. Needed, I gather, 2 people, your disability and her work to do it. You said, great, you work from the house. I'm going to buy this equipment so you can work from the house. You'll teach me. Period. End of discussion. It didn't become a loan until you separated.
Your Honor, we had a deal. Deal. We had a deal. I was to learn something. I paid
and you
for
didn't
myself.
learn anything. Whose fault is that? You went back to work. That is not a loan, Mr. Andres. That's not a loan. That's living together and planning a future that doesn't work out. That's not a loan. I understand from Miss Brazil, whose counterclaim I'm not even thinking about. Do you understand that?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you. During what year do you claim that he owes you for rent?
The year of 2000, and then he paid rent intermittently during 2000 and part of 2001.
Okay, it's old, that's why. Because 2 years later, you don't wake up and say, he owes me for rent in 2000. Because I know and you know that your counterclaim is nonsense. That you would never be here but for the fact of this nonsense about this equipment. Now, what I want to know is, she says that you didn't even bring up the issue of this equipment again until after she took you to court for child support.
That is not true.
Now, But one thing that amazed me, and I just want to find out whether I read it wrong. Are you currently under a child support order, Mr. Andres?
Yes, I am.
What is that order?
It's $38 a month.
That's what I read, $38 a month. What country do you live in?
The United States.
What state in this country?
California.
What county?
Stanislaus County.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm not working. That's why it's $38 a month.
Why are you not working?
I've been looking for work, Your Honor.
Who's supporting you?
I'm staying at my mother's house.
That's nice. Collect cans, sir. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a gift. It was planned that we would, you know, have a life together.
I mean, I put out money not just for her future, but my future as well, and it never panned out.
I don't want to go to court. This isn't how I would solve something.
I'm out $5,000, and I shouldn't be.
Nurse Janice Townsend is suing neighbor 20-year-old fast food worker Leanne Johnson and her boyfriend, 21-year-old air condition installer Dennis Jones, for the cost to repair her car. Janice says the couple hit her parked vehicle and fled the scene.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Townsend versus Johnson-Jones. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Townsend, you own a car.
Yes.
And your car was parked in front of your house.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't see what happened, but all you know is somebody hit your car.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And one of these two people were driving that car that hit your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
October 19th, about between 6 and 7.
Tell me where you were.
I was inside my house, and I heard this big crash. I got up, went to the door. By the time I made it to the door, two of my neighbors were at my door saying, someone has just hit your car. You need to come outside. So I went outside, looked at my car, and it was smashed in on the front and just stuff all over the place. So I looked at
You mean debris?
Debris,
Car
that's
debris.
right. That's right, debris. Was on the street and on my yard. But the second car wasn't anywhere around. So I went back in, called the police, went back out to look at my car again, and we seen debris going around the street.
So you followed the debris?
We followed debris around the street to another car, which was probably about, it was the next block. The next block, that car was there. It was all smashed in. It was not able to go any further.
Did you see anyone around that car?
I seen Miss Johnson and her baby. Her baby was in
This
the back
lady?
seat. Yes, ma'am. Her baby was in the back seat. She was standing on the outside. She was crying. She was all upset. She got her.
There was a baby in the car?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
Her car.
The baby was in the back seat. She got the baby, put it in a restraint.
Also in the seat? In the car?
In the car. Not in the restraint. In the car, on the back seat. She took the baby out of the back seat, put it in the restraint, and she, in the little baby car seat, she set it on the street. And I forgot, someone said, you need to get that baby out the street. So she got the baby out the street, and by that time the police come. When the police come, Mr. Dennis...
This gentleman here?
Yes, this man here and his mother come up.
Now, he wasn't there when you first got to the scene?
No, he was not there.
Okay.
Okay, he was not there. He and his mother come up. The police officer was talking to Miss Johnson first. She was all upset. She was crying. When Dennis come up, the police officer was asking them, why did he leave? And he was saying that her father was trying to kill him. He had wrapped the seatbelt around his neck, and they were fighting. He was trying to get away from him, which made him put his foot on the gas and run into my car.
Okay. And that's all you know about this?
And that's all I know.
Okay.
So, well, there's one more thing. Dennis said that he would pay for my car. They said they would pay for it. They were sorry about it, but they never have. She has insurance on the car, but the insurance refused to pay for it because she was not the driver. He was, and he doesn't have any license. So that's why we're here today. I feel like they need to pay for my car.
Who wants to talk first?
I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I was standing in the front yard. My dad chased him down the street and grabbed
Chased who down the street?
him. He was driving.
Is he your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he the father of this baby?
Yes, ma'am.
That was in the back seat of the car?
Yes. And the baby was in a restraint, but by the time she'd gotten there, I'd gotten the baby out of the car and was sitting in the back seat holding the baby. And then when the police were starting to arrive,
Let's
I
start
took
from
the
the
baby.
beginning. Your father is chasing him.
Yes.
Chasing him from where?
From my house.
Where was the baby when your father was chasing him?
In the back seat of the car.
What was the baby doing in the car?
Because me and him and the baby were fixed to leave, but I went in the house, and when I come back out, my dad had started chasing him and Dennis was leaving to try to get away from him.
Okay. You were planning to leave the house?
Yes.
Where was the car parked?
In the street in front of the house.
Who brought the baby outside?
We had just come to the house. We had been off and we were going to go back off, but I was stopping at the house to get something, so I had just had
So
her
the
in
two of you
car.
had just driven to your father's house?
Yes.
From where?
I believe we were at the movies.
You went to the movies with a baby? How old's your baby?
She's 17 months.
So you don't remember where you were coming from?
No, ma'am, but a lot of stuff happened that night.
No. Now, you were just stopping off at your father's to get something?
Yes.
The baby is in the back seat of the car?
In a car seat.
I hear you. The baby is in the back seat of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Who got out of the car first?
I did.
From what side of the car?
The passenger side.
So Mr. Jones was driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I never got...
I didn't speak to you yet. And the car is registered in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
You live with Mr. Jones?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
At my parents' house.
And where does he live?
At his mom's house.
Does Mr. Jones have a valid driver's license?
No, ma'am.
No. So why are you letting him drive your car?
He bought it.
Why doesn't he have a driver's license? If he has enough money to buy a car, why doesn't he have enough sense to get a driver's license so that he can drive it?
I don't know. I don't...
Has he been arrested?
No, ma'am.
Has a DUI?
No, ma'am.
He owes child support?
No, ma'am.
Then why don't you have a driver's license?
I don't know, ma'am.
What do you mean you don't know? Did you ever have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
Heating and cooling.
Heating and cooling.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you made your money from to buy this car?
Yes, ma'am.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you filed tax returns? Look at me. When was the last year you filed tax returns?
Probably 99, 2000.
Don't you think you live in a country that has rules and regulations? Now, how did I know to ask you that question? Because somebody that's stupid enough not to have a driver's license and drive a car is also dumb enough to work and not pay taxes. And I say that to you, sir, because of the defense that you registered in your answer, which I find fascinating. I'm going to get to the thrust of this story a little quicker. You went inside, your father started to have an argument with the two of you, or just with him?
Him.
About what?
A statement that Dennis had made that he said was false.
You mean that since your father was doing something wrong?
Yeah.
All right. So they had an argument?
Yes.
And then Dennis did what? Did he run out of the house?
He wasn't in the house, he was outside.
Still in the driver's seat of the car?
Yeah.
So your father ran out and grabbed him?
I wasn't outside at the time. That
Oh, now Dennis is going to tell me. So what happened, Dennis?
She went in the house, he come out, and he started fussing on me and stuff. So I crunked the car up, put it in gear. About the time I put it in gear, he was right here at my windows finna hit me. But I give it a little gas, and he grabbed my seat belt. And I looked down, when I, was going down the road, he was running right beside me. When I looked down to grab the seatbelt off my neck, because he was pulling it tight on me. And when I looked down, boom, I hit her car, which her car was like 3 foot away from the curb and unlegally parked.
That's his defense, Bird. His defense is he's not responsible because her car was parked the wrong way on the street.
Oh,
That's
that's
his
good.
defense.
That's good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, that, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving.
And later today,
He said that he had gotten himself arrested for a mistaken identity, is what he told me.
He got himself arrested for a mistaken identity? I didn't know the last time I looked in the penal law that that was a crime.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janice Townsend claims Leanne Johnson and her boyfriend, Dennis Jones, hit her parked car and fled the scene. Dennis says Leanne's angry father was chasing him when he lost control of his vehicle.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, that, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving. And you, who don't have a driver's license, who's not allowed to be behind the wheel, is not responsible. You want to explain that to me? If you weren't doing the wrong thing and driving a car, this wouldn't have happened.
That's true.
That's true. Oh, do you have a picture of the damage to the car, please? This is not a new car, right?
That's right.
But you're entitled to have your car in the same condition as it was before
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wonderful over here hit it.
Yes, ma'am.
So even though it's expensive to put your car back into condition, you're entitled to it. How long have you been working at this heating and cooling company?
For about a year.
You paid in check or cash?
Cash.
Cash. Well, you better start saving your cash. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,692.05. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was thoroughly shocked.
Yeah, I feel bad that it happened.
My car was sitting in front of the house.
I'm sorry can't get along with her now.
Minding its own business. When they were fighting, they hit my car.
Don't be driving.
Justice.
Safety coordinator Corey Wacker is suing his ex-fiancee bus driver Sandra Jo Matza for phone calls to a psychic hotline. Sandra Jo is countersuing for the cost of a wedding dress and the return of her engagement ring.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Wacker versus Matza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Wacker, you and the defendant, according to what I've read, were engaged to be married and were living together since 1999. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it is your claim that when she moved out, you got a phone bill of $1,500 for the psychic hotline. And you claimed that the calls were her calls.
That's right.
But you acknowledge making some of those calls yourself.
Not the 900 calls.
You made no 900 calls
None.
yourself. Okay. Ms. Matza says she admits making half of the calls. She said you did make some of those calls. Her defense is that while you were together, she put her money in an account that was used for paying household bills, and there was more than enough money there to cover that phone bill. In addition, she has a counterclaim because she says you took back the engagement ring, you stole it out of her jewelry box, and she wants you to pay for the wedding dress because you had no reason to break off the engagement. That's your counterclaim, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So you started to live together in 1999, and you broke up when?
January 17th of 01.
Now, how did you handle the finances between 1999 and January of 01? Did you have a joint account, or did you have one account to pay bills, and was it your account?
I put together a joint account. Okay.
So you had a joint account.
Right. I had canceled out the joint account during when we had a problem before that January 17th date. I canceled all that account out, so that account was gone. Everything was in my name.
In the year 2000, did you have a joint account?
Yes.
And did you both put money into that account?
I did, yes.
You mean the defendant didn't put any money into that
Very
account?
little.
Very little is not an answer. She put money in that account.
Yes.
So if she put in any money into that joint account is both of yours. Because no court, not this court, is going to go back for a year and figure, well, I put in $500, she put in $25. I put in $2,000, she put in $500. It's not going to happen. As long as she put in some money, that money was all of yours. Now, tell me the month you closed out that account.
It was closed out in January.
January of 01.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And how much money was in the account at that time?
About $200.
You have any paperwork to prove that?
None.
Now, how did you handle the finances with regard to rent and...
I paid all bills. I signed all the checks. I signed all the mortgage payments. I signed everything. Everything was in my name because she couldn't have an account. She owed everybody so much money for everything that never once nothing could be put in her name.
Okay. Now, during the time that you were together, had the defendant ever made calls to the psychic hotline before?
Never. Never. She'd like to go to psychics, though.
But this was the first time she had ever used the psychic hotline.
Correct. Matter of fact, the January 17th, was a date I told her that it was time for her to go and move out, and that's the exact date that she started making these phone calls.
Can I see the bill, please?
Absolutely.
So what were you trying to find out from this psychic?
Your Honor, it wasn't only me. It was him too, okay? And he was not only calling these psychics
Judge, that's untrue.
Shh, don't speak. You see how quiet she was?
Because
They were calling his house approximately 4:30 every night asking for him. He not only started this with calling these psychics, he went on the online at nighttime calling them too. And I am the witness for that because I was sitting right alongside of him watching this.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Wacker?
I'm a safety manager for second largest school bus company in the United States.
You work Monday through Friday?
Yes.
What time?
Usually from 8 in the morning to 5 at night.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a school bus driver for the first largest school bus company, Laidlaw. And I work...
Just your hours of work?
6:30 to 5.
You drive kids to school and then you go home?
Yes, and I do trips in between.
Just a second. You drive kids to work and then you go home. Okay. Well, some of these calls are in the evening.
From that January 17th date on, I didn't spend very much time at home. As a matter of fact, I made sure I wasn't at home.
Okay.
And because I didn't want to be anywhere around her. As far as me making any phone calls to the psychic hotlines, there's a 1-800 number that you can call to get a voice stamp. Every one of those phone calls had her voice on it as a voice stamp.
All right.
Which means she made the phone call. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Now, I got the psychic calls. Psychic calls were $1,400.
Right.
Right? Okay. Half of that is $750 because he was still living together. Now, I want to move on to you. He took back the
ma'am.
engagement ring?
Yes. He stole it out of my jewelry box while I was in the process of moving.
That's okay. He's entitled to it back. He should have asked for it nicely, but he's entitled to it back. Engagement is over. Ring is given in contemplation of marriage. It goes back to the person who gave it. That's him. Let's get to the wedding dress. That's the wedding dress?
Yes, ma'am.
So why should he pay for it?
I can't wear it. I can't even sell it. I've put things in the courier post. No calls. I cannot sell
I don't think
it.
it'll fit me. So.
Cute.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Corey Wacker says ex-fiancée Sandra Jo Matza owes for unauthorized phone calls to a psychic hotline. Sandra Jo says Corey made those calls with her.
What other arrangements were made for the wedding?
None. There was no hall booked. There was no caterers. There was no music. There was
a
nothing
date
booked.
set?
Yeah, it was supposed to be July 7th.
Okay. And when did you buy the wedding dress?
I bought it in September, the year before, 2000.
Why?
Because he told me it was time, everything was serious.
Time for what?
For us to be engaged. So he told me, go out and buy your wedding dress, and that's what I did.
So, put it away, maybe you'll use it again. He's not paying for that. But you also understand, Mr. Wacker, that I have to make a judgment with regard to these bills. You and the defendant were living... What? I'm speaking. You and the defendant were living together as a couple.
Correct.
Bills being paid as a couple. If, let us say, this relationship did not terminate in January or February and she made these psychic calls, what you would have done is had a fit.
I had a fit anyway when I saw the bill.
Well, but by that time you had a fit and you didn't have any of the perks that go along with the relationship. But if you were together, it's like, you know, one mate going out and buying 6 pairs of shoes. What are you, crazy? 6 pairs of shoes? You only have 2 feet. What can you use 6 pairs of shoes for? You have a big fight. And then it's finished, and you move on. You don't say, you're going to pay for every one of those shoes, go out and get a job. You don't. Whatever.
But may I interject?
Yeah, you may, but you get where I'm going, sir.
Yeah,
you were a couple.
But
Until
at that point, from the 17th on,
yeah,
or actually, the night before that, the 17th, okay?
Yeah.
It was the 16th, is when I told her to move. Technically then, we weren't a couple anymore.
Yes, you were.
And she made these calls, and she made these calls, and she shouldn't have, because she's trying to find out whether or not the relationship's going to continue to work or whatever. You know what I mean? Well, I guess who it was, Miss Cleo, or whoever she called, told her I guess it wasn't going to work, or didn't believe her, so she kept calling her. You know, I just don't feel I should have to pay for all of her phone calls when it was a proven fact that she made the phone calls with the voice stamps. Her voice is on every one of those
You're
phone
not
calls.
following me, sir. You're trying to say the relationship was over at the time when I told her it was over. You're living in the same house. You've been living in the same house for a couple of years. She needs time to put her things together, to find another place to live, to do all of those things. That's what happens
But
when
I'm
one
not
of these
asking her to pay anything else.
Hey, listen to me very carefully, sir. That's the drill. You're a couple. You come in here and you say, first I'm a couple, then I'm not a couple. You want your things back? You want the engagement ring back because the engagement was over. You're entitled to it back because it's over. Had you been married, you wouldn't get the engagement ring back. There are certain things that a relationship has as intrinsic to the relationship. In this case, since 1999, the bills were paid out of a joint account up until a couple of days before you decided to terminate it. So you lived as a couple. Half of the psychic bills come to $737. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $737. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
By the way, I wouldn't have needed a psychic to know this relationship was not going to work.
I can't believe she lied up there like she did about saying that I made these psychic phone calls.
He's a user, a loser. I'm glad she's got him, and I'm glad I'm out of it.
That's ridiculous.
I put closure to this. He can't. He needs to end it and get on with his life. I already did.
I guess she figures that these psychics are going to tell her what to do and all. I'm not going to deal with that, you know.
He's an idiot.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Link versus Booth. Step forward, please.
Business owner Joyce Link is suing her neighbor, carpenter John Booth, for damage to her vehicle. Joyce says a drunken John fell against her van.
Miss Link, the defendant is a neighbor of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that he and a bunch of his drunken friends were coming home one evening and fell on your car or van, causing a dent in the van.
Yes.
Mr. Booth says it wasn't him.
Okay.
So tell me when this happened.
It was on a Saturday night, February 16th, 2002, around 12:31 a.m. in the morning. Me and my husband and children were in our house asleep, and we were awoken by some loud voices outside. So we got up, me and my husband, and looked out our bedroom window, and it was Mr. Booth and 4 of his friends. They were drunk, falling into our van and my next-door neighbor's bushes. And we proceeded to go outside, me and my husband, and I asked them to please get off my vehicle. And the next thing I know, Mr. Booth is yelling about, you know, him and his friends.
No, what was he saying to you, Miss Link? I've heard everything.
He was yelling that we woke my effing neighbors up, and one of his friends had apologized for being on our vehicle. He told me that he was sorry, and Mr. Booth yelled, "Sorry, hell, I fell." I have pictures of my vehicle and my neighbor's bushes that happened that night.
Okay, can I see them, please?
The next morning, we proceeded to get John Booth's attention on the matter, and no one would come to the door, so my husband had wrote a note and taped it to his front door. Then on Monday morning, I was on my way out, and Mr. Booth's wife had approached me.
What was the note? What did the note say?
That they needed to get in touch with us about the damages that was done to our van due to him and his friends being drunk that Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Booth's wife, she seen the damages, and she said that she would let her husband know and to get an estimate, and the damages would be taken care of.
Did Mr. Booth ever contact you?
Yes, that evening. Again, I was outside, and he approached me, and he apologized for what happened and told me that him and his friends don't remember anything. They were too drunk. Again, he did apologize, and he said to go get an estimate that he would take care of the damages. So I did go get an estimate, and I left it on their door because that's how we were notifying each other. So I did go get the estimate, and I left it taped to his front door.
Okay. Mr. Booth?
So far, everything's semi-right. Yeah, we did go out and get drunk. We got a little carried away. The wife was feeling sick, so we went up to the neighborhood bar so I wouldn't bother her. We were up there partying, got a little carried away, come on home. We were pretty intoxicated, okay, yeah. And when we passed her house, the guy that actually did the damage, him and his girlfriend were lagging behind me. I was already in my driveway when her car got damaged.
Were these people that you were out drinking with, were they men or women?
Both. We were all couples.
Well, not you weren't a couple. Your
No, I
wife
was in front.
Shh. Let me finish, sir. You weren't a couple. Your wife was sick.
Yes.
That means there were 5 of you.
Yes.
And where were these 2 couples going from the bar?
To my house.
What were they going to do in your house?
They're going to spend the night.
So they were invited guests of
Yes.
yours. and you escorted them to the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and then you all got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were escorting your friends, invitees of yours, back to your home for the purposes of sleeping there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Then I don't give a rat's behind who it was that fell on the van, sir. You're responsible.
Okay.
Okay. That's good. That's what you should have said 3 months ago. Mr. Booth, in the last few months, how much money have you sent them towards the repair of the car?
I don't feel like I sent anything.
What do you mean
I
you don't
didn't do the
feel like?
damage.
Didn't you just follow what I said? Didn't you just follow what I said?
Okay, I was escorting him back to the house. He fell into the van.
You were responsible for your guests. If your guests become rowdy, and as a result of their being rowdy, cause damage to the neighbor's property, they don't have to go around and hustle and find out the names and addresses of your guests.
I gave it to her.
You're responsible, and if you feel as if your friends are responsible, you go get the money from them.
I was trying.
I was trying. What do you do for a living?
I'm a carpenter.
Mm-hmm. The lowest estimate that you have, Miss Link, is $519.66.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff. If you have friends, you make sure your friends are well taken care of, sir. And if they cause damage, you are responsible. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I don't feel like I should have paid. It wasn't me that damaged the vehicle.
I'm happy with the decision.
Just because someone tripped and fell down, did I force him to get drunk? Did I push him into the van? No.
I'm just glad it's over.
If it wasn't a bunch of nagging going on.
If him and his friends didn't get drunk and damage my van, I wouldn't be a nagger.
No one could talk to me. They had to leave a note on the door. I live right next door.
We're still going to be neighbors. We'll still talk.
I like him, actually. My kids play with their kids.
I have no hard feelings against him, even though I'm a nagger, as he puts it.
No, no hard feelings at all.
When
If
you get
drink, stay home.
Yeah.
Holly Kelm claims her son and his wife, Jacoby and Kelly Kelm, owe for the cost of a van and lost property.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2127, Kim versus Kim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Kelm, this is your son and your wife.
Yes.
What's your first name?
Jacoby.
What do they call you?
Jake.
How old are you, Jake?
31.
How long have you been married?
7 years.
Prior to getting married, were you married to someone else?
Yes.
For how long?
5 years.
Did you ever live with your mother?
No.
When was the last time you lived with your mother?
I was 17, I believe.
Okay, so you had a reasonable relationship with your mother?
Yes.
Until when?
Until May of, I'd say September of this year.
September of 2022?
Correct.
This is about a car. Is your claim that you sold your son a car and he didn't pay you? His defense is that it was a gift. There was never a discussion of that payment. When you turned over the car to your son, according to what I've read, you signed over the documents that allowed him to register the car in his own name, which he did. So he registered the car in his own name. Is the car still driving now?
No, it is not.
Where is it?
It got scrapped.
When?
October 3rd, 2022, which I have the receipt for that as well.
When did your mother turn the car over to you?
May 31st.
What kind of car was it?
2006 Chrysler Town & Country.
What happened to it?
Transmission went out on it, and it had some electrical issues. It kept draining the battery.
Had you spent anything to have those issues addressed?
Not on the transmission. I did replace the battery 3 times.
Did you buy a new car?
Yes.
How much?
$700.
What kind of car?
2003 Nissan Altima.
Why don't you tell me the circumstances, Jake, of the transfer of the car from your mother to you? Tell me the date that happened.
I got the title on the 30th of
May.
On the 31st, I was able to transfer it.
Tell me about the conversation with your mother when she signed over the title to you. She says you were supposed to pay her some $800 for the car.
No, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me what the conversation was with your mother when she gave you the title. You came to her, you didn't have a car.
Right.
You didn't have a car, you needed a car. And?
She said, the van's sitting over at the other property. It's just been sitting there for the last year. You can go over and if it starts, you can use it. And it did. She said, however, you cannot take the van until the title's transferred. And at which point, she gave me the title and the lien card for it. I went to the DMV, I transferred it, came back, got the van, and I was on my way. About a month and a half later, she was saying that if you give me $500, I'll put it in the safe for you, and then I'll just give it to you when you need it.
You have any communication with your mother about the car?
Not anymore.
I mean, communication in writing.
Oh, yes, I do. But nothing about payments. I mean, there was a few texts here and there saying, I want my money, or I'll take the van back.
I'd like to see that.
Okay. I might have one more in here. There's this one as well.
Jake, on September 3rd, Jake, you said, not sure what's going on with you, but this is getting ridiculous. I'll pay you when I have the money.
Right.
That's what you said.
Yep. I'm not saying I don't owe her anything. I'm just saying I was going to give her something just to show.
No. So on September 3rd, you got the car at the end of May, so June, July, and August you had the car, and you said, I'm not sure what's going on with you. Maybe, Mom, you're having issues that I don't know about, but this is getting ridiculous. I'll pay you when I have the money. That's an acknowledgement that you owe your mother the money.
Correct.
Okay. And how much did you agree to sell him the car for?
Car was $800.
Okay. Tell me about discussing with him the cost of the car and what you were going to sell it to him for.
We were at my friend's house, and we were playing marbles and having a few beers like we always do. We get together a lot. And he didn't have a vehicle, so we discussed he could use mine. And at that time, he said, well, he'd rather buy it. And then I said, okay, I will sell the van, which I was talking to my daughter about. She wanted to buy it also. And I told them both it was $800. And you could shake your head, no, that's true. But it was $800. And he said, okay, could he get it right away? And I said, well, first of all, I can't let you drive it because you're not insured. And then we talked about he was going to buy it and he would take it. I said, you got to transfer the title first. So he did all that.
Okay, well, that's responsible of both of you.
Yeah, there's no way we could leave it, go with no insurance. So then they took the van, and I told them first, I need to clean it out because I have a bunch of stuff in there. They said they would clean it out, but they needed a vehicle right away, and I said, okay.
When was the first time you asked him for money? $800 is a substantial amount of money.
He would get a paycheck, and he would go to the casino or go to the racetrack or whatever.
Holly Kelm claims her son and his wife, Jacoby and Kelly Kelm, owe for the cost of a van and lost property.
Okay. When was the first time you asked him for money?
In the summer sometime. I mean, we'd get together at my friend's house, and it's probably a month later I asked him, are you going to pay something on the van? I couldn't even say an exact date because, like I said, we got together, we played cards, and we would have a few beers with my friends over at her place, and then we'd discuss the van a little bit, discuss the money.
Just for my own curiosity, you've seemed to have, up until this point, a very fine relationship with your son and his wife. Is there something that interfered with that? I mean, $800 is a substantial amount of money, but odd to bring it to a lawsuit.
There's really nothing that interfered with our relationship except for him not paying me some money. And in between this time, and you both know this.
Don't look at me.
There's one text in here, do you have any money I could borrow? And well, I didn't have any money. I think I probably had 20, and I would give it to him. Because being a mom, I don't want to see him hurting, but I told him, you still have to pay me for my car.
Okay. And he acknowledges that he would pay you for the car when I have it.
But he would get get a paycheck, and he would go to the casino or go to the racetrack or whatever. And I said, well, what about paying me some money? I said, can you at least give me $25 so I can pay for my medicine? I don't have it. Okay.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I'm glad at least I'll get my money back for my van.
There's a lot of things that my mom did say that were very untrue.
I love him. I will always love him. He's my baby.
You just don't sue family over something so stupid.
You know, I'm really happy that I finally learned how to text.
Yeah, and how useful text messages can be.
Because, I was late to the game with all this electronic stuff. Anyway, these text messages have become so vital
to adjudicating cases because younger people memorialize everything, including what they have for breakfast and lunch and how they're feeling and what they're doing in text messages. But for the text message that he gave me, which said, I owe you the money, I'll pay you when I have it.
Valenzuela versus Jenkins. All parties, please step forward.
Javon Valenzuela claims his former friend, Darian Jenkins, owes for unpaid loans and bail money from a false arrest.
Mr. Valenzuela, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a friend of yours, owes you for some small loans that you made to him.
Yes.
And then it is your claim that he had you falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want damages for that. You've known him for a while, according to your complaint. You knew him, you were friendly with him, and then he moved out of state and then moved back. Where did you move to, sir?
To Colorado.
And you moved to Colorado from where?
From Texas.
And in Texas is where you knew the plaintiff?
Yes.
In what year did you move to Colorado?
2019.
And in what year did you move back to Texas?
This year, 2022.
And why did you move back?
Why did I move back?
You moved to Colorado for what?
My family was up there, yeah. And then my family went back to Texas.
Oh, so you moved with your family?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Did you live with your family in Colorado?
No, we didn't all live together, no.
The reason you say you came back to Texas was because your family came back?
Yeah.
Did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I worked from home.
What kind of work?
For a newspaper.
In Colorado?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
Whenever I moved back, I was still working from home, but they let me go. I got laid off.
When did you get laid off?
I would say June.
June of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And what month did you move back to Texas?
Oh, I had already moved back in May.
When you moved back in May, where did you go to live?
I was living in hotels.
But there came a point when you had no money.
It got to a point.
When did it get to a point when you had no money?
Maybe July.
And when did you contact Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd say July.
You didn't contact him in May when you came back?
I just want to say that's a lie.
When did you contact him?
I mean, we talked while I lived in Colorado. You know, we always text each other, so.
Well, when you contacted him in July, what did you say to him?
I couldn't say exactly what I said, but.
Give me the gist of it.
Borrow some money, I guess.
Okay. And you needed it for living?
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He did sometimes if I asked him.
Okay. And how much did he give you?
Here and there, maybe 100, maybe 2 every.
No, altogether.
Altogether? Oh, I couldn't say how much altogether.
You couldn't say?
I couldn't say, maybe a few hundred.
Did he give you money for housing?
A couple times he did.
How much?
100 here, 100
Do you have
there.
a record of how much you gave him, sir?
I do.
Okay, because he's already said, and would you read that back to me, Whitney, please, about borrowing?
Said, let me borrow some money.
Right. Okay, let me borrow some money. So tell me how much money you let him borrow.
$1,200.
Show me. Okay, now tell me what that is that you're giving him, all those papers that you expect me to read.
These are screenshots of every time I sent him money.
Oh, can I see it, please? Okay, get ready, Sarah Rose. Anybody who came could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. But if you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had him on.
Valenzuela is suing his former friend, Darian Jenkins, for unpaid loans and damages from an assault.
So every time you gave him money...
He agreed to pay me back.
No, he's already told me that he called you and asked if he could borrow some money, and you said yes, and he said, I don't know how much it was. So if he doesn't know how much it was, you have screenshots of it, and Sarah is going to add them all up. Okay. Of all the money that you said that you borrowed from him, how much did you pay back?
120.
Good guess. Did he give you back $120?
No.
Did he give you back anything?
No.
Nothing ever?
No.
Okay. So while Sarah is adding that up, there came a point when you left the hotel. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenzuela probably got tired of giving you money and said that you could stay in a spare room in his house.
For the most part, yes.
And you moved in in August of 2022, the end of August.
Yes.
And then in September, you had a fight. I don't care what the fight was about. Became physical?
He was physical, yes.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. No, I wasn't.
Let's say you had an argument that spilled out into the street, because this becomes very important, because there's the other charge is false arrest. And it was a false arrest, you claim, based on his statement to the police that you assaulted him.
Right.
Right. He says, yes, you had an argument, but you weren't arrested on his allegation that you assaulted him, but you were arrested and held on an outstanding warrant. When the police responded, they found that there was an outstanding warrant. So now I want you to tell me, in September of 2022, did you have an outstanding warrant? That's either a yes or a no.
Well, it was on a payment plan.
I don't care what it was. Did you have an outstanding warrant?
Yes.
And the outstanding warrant was for a what?
Traffic tickets.
What kind of traffic ticket?
I think I was speeding, and I didn't have my license either.
So speeding, driving without a license. What else? You have insurance?
I think it was insurance.
Not think. Speeding, driving without a license, and no insurance.
And no tags.
And no tags. And for that, you got fined.
Yes.
And you didn't pay the fine.
I was paying it.
Well, there wasn't a warrant outstanding because you were cooperating and paying the fines.
The county that I'm in, they said, the police officer said, it doesn't matter if you're on a payment plan. They'll arrest you if they want to.
Mr. Valenzuela, did you miss payments on your fine?
Yes.
Perfect. And so when the police responded to this kerfuffle that was out in the street, when they ran both your names, your name came up with an active warrant.
Yes.
Well, that's easy. So that you were arrested on the outstanding warrant.
I would have never been arrested, though, if he wouldn't have acted.
If he didn't call the police.
No, he didn't call the police.
Who did?
My neighbor did, because the way he was acting.
So your neighbor called the police, but for the outstanding warrant, I don't know whether the police would have taken you into custody. You had an injured lip. They could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. It's really not relevant to this case. But if I were the police and I showed up, you didn't have any visible injuries, right? No, you had a busted lip. If you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. He's got a busted lip, got to sew it up. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Right.
Good. So that's not his fault that you had a warrant. It's not his fault.
I have that total. It's $2,727.56, and that's including some direct payments to Motel 6s and other housing accommodations.
Includes that?
Yes, in addition to direct payments to the defendant.
Great. He says you didn't make any payments. $27.27.
I mean, there's no way he expected me to pay. I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what you said.
A couple times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like, I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
He was being nice.
Sometimes he offered.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a job now?
Yes.
Okay, great. 27-27. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think he was just mad overall, so he just picked something to get me back with.
Just like he said, he thought I was being nice. Why would you say you're going to pay me back, but then not pay me back?
He was screaming. Yeah, he was screaming. Just screaming, cussing, like, embarrassing.
He was acting crazy, and because he was acting crazy, woke up the whole neighborhood.
Well, he was drunk, going crazy outside, running around the apartment complex, so she called the cops on him.
That's what made my neighbor call the cops, and that's why they came.
Oh, no, there's no friendship. It's gone. Yeah.
Don't have friends like that, but also don't bite the hand that feeds you. Nothing comes good out of it, so.
Just something funny from the receipts that I was looking at. Some of them say, you know, the price really big on Venmo or Cash App, and then it just says completed at the bottom. On some of them, though, you could see heart emojis that the defendant sent thanking him, basically acknowledging that he received the money payment, sent a red heart emoji, and some of them were at very odd hours of the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some direct to Motel 6, some direct to other housing accommodations.
It's so interesting.
But I liked the receipts. I liked the
I never
paper trail.
Right.
Yeah, it's made it easy.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And because when people say I gave him cash, and
Even with an ATM slip, you never really know if the cash transferred hands or.
Susie Canales is suing her nephew, Noah Tiarina, for the cost of a Toyota 4Runner.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Thank you.
Case 2160, Canales versus Tiarina.
Thank you. Ms. Canales, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
And his name is Chris?
Yes.
Okay. This case is about a truck.
Toyota 4Runner, yes, ma'am.
That was titled in your name, about 21, 22 years old, but was in the possession of your son, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Chris went to jail.
Yes.
And your great-nephew moved into that house.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And you moved into that house with your wife, girlfriend?
Fiance.
Fiance. When are you getting married?
So we're waiting on our second daughter in February, so after February.
Okay, well, that's not the way we usually did it 100 years ago in the Stone Age, but I understand that that's the way a lot of people do it these days. Anyway, you moved on to the property. When you moved on to the property, in addition to some other things, there was this truck. When did you give your son the truck? In what year?
It's always been his truck, but I titled it over to him in 2021.
Okay, so you signed over a title to him.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not your truck anymore. So what are you doing here, suing for it?
He was never able to go and transfer the title or go and register it, so
Because there was not one.
If you say that again, it won't be good for you. We don't shout out here. I run a very organized shop. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you acknowledge that it's always been his truck. Did you buy it new?
I bought it used for
When?
his graduation in 2005.
What's the value of it? Just
Between $3,000 to $5,000, but that's based on 100,000 miles and good condition. So.
Okay. Chris, stand up, please. On what date did you go to jail?
April 20th, 2022.
How long were you there?
Till July 11th.
What were you there for?
Drug charge?
Is that still pending?
No, ma'am.
When you were arrested or when you were incarcerated, was there an engine in this truck? Be very careful in your answer. Was the truck running?
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did the truck have on it?
Roughly 220,000.
And you were in the house and you disposed of the truck.
Amongst other things, yes, ma'am.
All we're talking about here is the truck.
Okay.
On what date did you dispose of the truck?
In August, whenever me and Susie made a verbal agreement for me to have ownership of the truck because it was no longer running.
How did you dispose of it?
It was towed away to a junk shop and used for parts.
You have any paperwork?
I have paperwork for the towing.
Great, I'll see the picture and I'll see the towing receipt. That tells you that it wasn't working.
With the new mileage, about 1,900 to 4,000 would be the
Okay.
range. Again, for good condition.
Okay, and this is an invoice for $75, junk vehicle towed, no keys, no title, doesn't run, wrecked. Kevin, yes. Show this to Chris. So that's what you're suing for. You're suing for the value of the truck because it's been junked, so you want $5,000. The truck, at best, if it were running, would be $1,900. According to this, it wasn't running. Now, Mr. Tiarina?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me the conversation you had with your aunt. Her son was now out of jail because if this happened in August, you got out of jail July 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went to my mother's house.
And that was before the truck was towed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Chris, did your cousin tell you that the truck wasn't running?
No, ma'am.
When did you find out that the truck wasn't running?
I was always assuming that it was running. I did attempt to contact him, and he told me to come pick up the truck. And I told him I was on my way. I believe it was on the July 15th. We have the text messages here.
I'd like to see them. Okay, so this all sounds very civilized.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chris, when did it become uncivilized?
It really never became uncivilized. We just, whenever I went to go get it that day, I think something happened and...
I'm not following you.
Okay.
We were all over the place. This all sounds very civilized. He's living in the house now. You were not.
Right.
Some of your stuff was still there.
Correct.
You know each other a long time. He said, some stuff I'll throw away. You said, okay, but the other stuff I've got in the house, come by and pick it up. Okay.
Yes.
At that time, he had to have told you that the truck was not running because he said the truck is at the exact same spot where you parked it.
Right. Well, I just assumed they didn't have the key because a lot of my belongings got thrown away.
Well, they didn't have the key because the tow people said that there was no key.
Right. That's just why I assumed the truck was still in the same spot.
Okay. Now you find out that the truck is not running, right? Because you went there to pick up some of your stuff. Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that was in July because you said you were coming over July 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
So you came to his house where your truck was sitting.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you find out about the truck?
The truck was still in the same spot and it wasn't running.
Same spot.
Same spot.
Did anybody prevent you from taking the truck when you came?
No, ma'am.
Then why didn't you take it?
Just simply for the key. I didn't have the key to turn it on.
Just a second. April, May, June, and July. So the car had not been touched in 4 months. That's what you're telling me. While you were incarcerated, and if you just said to me the car was in the same spot from the time you left now, and there was no key. So you had no idea whether the truck was running or not, right?
Well, I just assumed that it wasn't running because of the key, the no key.
If you were that interested, you would have found out. You would have called a mechanic, they would have come, they would have jump-started the truck, and somebody would have made you a new key. Then you could have taken the truck. He doesn't have to keep your truck on his property.
Well, first of all, my family member said that they were evicted. They had not been evicted.
What evicted? What does that have to do with the truck?
At the time, Your Honor, he, of course, was incarcerated.
No, he wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated when you gave him the truck.
No, he was not.
No, I see. I have the dates here that you told me. He wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated for a year, and he didn't transfer the title.
I asked my family member if I was able to go into the house and remove all his items and look for the key and the title so I can have the vehicle removed, and everything was thrown out of the house. So when he came to pick it up, it was gone the next day.
I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's gonna go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a Grand Theft Auto charge.
Susie Canales claims her nephew, Noah Tiarina, owes for the cost of a Toyota 4Runner.
What I'm telling you is he was not prevented from taking the truck the day that he came, which was mid-July. He didn't dispose of the truck until August. That's what this receipt says. I think. Now, this invoice was prepared 2 days ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this doesn't say when they took the truck. How did you get this invoice 2 days ago? It was from August.
I got the invoice because I needed it for evidence, and the towing company that sent me that invoice gave me the incorrect day because they sent it to me on the day that they sent me the receipt.
Doesn't say the date it was towed. Junk vehicle towed. You have any email communication or text communication immediately after the vehicle was towed or before?
With her?
Yes.
I called her the day that it was towed because I have respect for my family member. And I said, I'm towing the truck. It needs to get off of my property today. And she said, Mijo, I feel like I should be compensated for the truck. How much do you want for the truck? She said she wanted $500. I told her that I could pay it in monthly increments.
Why would you want to buy a truck that was worthless?
Because I have respect for my family and I hold family very close to me. And if she says that something's not right, I'm going to make it right. And that's what I tried to do. I failed on that first month of I was supposed to give her $100. I did not pay the first $100. I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's going to go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a Grand Theft Auto charge and have a felony on my name.
Okay. Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards? Did you recall, Ms. Canales, having a conversation with your nephew about $500 for the truck?
No, ma'am, I do not.
My witness does.
Shh. How was he supposed to pick up the truck when he just got out of jail the day before you had it towed? And I asked for permission to look for the keys and title, but everything was moved out of the garage. At that time, I was taking my mother to the hospital. But it's okay, I just got to go through the court process. Regardless, you're going to get your money, Aunt Susie. So it's clear that you had a discussion with him about money, because he says to you, in response to his statement, so I don't see anything here about $500, but he says, I'm going to get you your money. Well, you didn't say to him, what money are you talking about?
I just told him I was done.
You said, I'm tired of the back and forth, which leads me to believe that that's exactly what happened. Do you have any other documentation of this communication that you had with her? I mean, it's a useless piece of junk of a car anyway.
The only thing I have is a letter of me mailing her the money order. That letter that I mailed her, I have no idea where it is.
Well, I don't know where it is either, but that's a self-serving document. I don't care. But you acknowledge that you told her that you would pay her $500 for the car. She's the registered owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. I believe you.
Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
He knows he did us wrong, and he knows he's lying right now. This is the only reason why he's acting like that, and that's why the reason my mom is so upset.
It's sad that it had to end that way for a family member, because family is something that I hold very close to my heart, and I don't like to see it in that way.
He had free run of all my belongings, and he ended up selling it.
But at the end of the day, it's my livelihood and my fiance's little livelihood that's at stake.
He knows what he did.
I did not take advantage of my own family. Never.
Yeah, it's tore us up a little bit.
It can't be put back together.
Troublesome. I'll tell you some of the troublesome things that I didn't even want to go into with them. He went to jail in April. His mother knew where the car was. She could have gone to get the car. She had 4 months.
Yeah.
Her son went to the house when he got out of jail in July.
And all he had to do was do the same thing the defendant had to do, call a tow truck, have it towed to your house.
Right.
Get an extra key made.
Right. And I thought that he was actually a pretty good nephew.
Yeah, I did too. He didn't have to pay for the car, but he felt for his aunt and the situation that she was in. And
well, he was just trying to be respectful and
Yes.
probably keep the peace.
Exactly.
Between everybody. Well, again.
Carol Crane is suing her daughter, Jessica Crane, for personal items and money from a GoFundMe fundraiser.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2119, Crane versus Crane.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Miss Crane, this is a very sad case. This is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
And I don't know how many children that you have, but I know that you had a son who was in medical school, who was, how old, 25 years old?
30.
30. Sounds as if he was a popular young man. He was in an outing with friends, and sadly, he drowned.
Yes, he did.
And that happened,
women.
just a second, and that happened when?
That happened July 29th of this year.
This is what the case is about. His friends, in his memory, started a GoFundMe page.
Correct.
And there is approximately $40,000 in that GoFundMe page.
There was, yes.
I said approximately.
Yes.
There was. And your daughter is, for want of a better word, in charge of that Facebook page GoFundMe proceeds.
Correct.
And it is your claim that as the next of kin, because he died without a will, you are entitled to some or all of that Facebook page.
It doesn't even matter about the GoFundMe funds. I mean, that would be nice in a perfect world, but my daughter took everything. From the day my son passed, when they found his body at the river, the coroner gave her the keys to his truck, and she went to his apartment and emptied it. So I didn't get my chance to be Josh's mom for the last time. I didn't get to empty his apartment.
I can't cure that, madam.
No.
I can't cure that.
No.
And you can't put any sort of a value on anything that your daughter might have taken from that apartment, because you don't know what was there.
Correct.
So I can't help you with that. In a perfect world, maybe she would have gone with you to the apartment, but she didn't.
Correct.
Based upon what I read, you were not there during the search for your son or the discovery of his body. Is that correct?
I was at home.
Okay. And your daughter was there?
Yes, she was.
And I assume that you were close to your brother?
Absolutely close to my brother.
Just curious, what prevented you? You were notified that your son was missing. What prevented you from going there?
My daughter was at the house the day Josh went missing, and we had my car torn apart. She left after they called her, and I definitely would have hitched a ride, but I didn't have a vehicle.
Your
to
Honor,
get
I
home.
got.
Just a second. Did you say she was at your house?
Yes, she was.
Well, then why didn't you go with her?
They didn't call till after she had left, apparently, and rather than come back and get me.
You mean she left to go someplace else?
She left to go home. Yeah, we were working on my car. She left to go home, and she got a call from Search and Rescue. I hadn't been answering my phone.
Oh, well, that's a different story. You hadn't been answering your phone. It wasn't as if nobody called you.
No, she didn't call.
It wasn't as if nobody called you. Did somebody call you?
Right, from Search and Rescue, yes.
Somebody called you?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Crane, this is your problem. If your son passed away without a will, and I'm sure that somebody else, maybe a professional has told you that, a legal professional has told you that, if your son passed away without a will, depending upon the laws in your jurisdiction, you, as his parent, might be construed as next of kin, and any property that he owned at the time of his death would transfer to you.
Right, correct, yes.
He didn't own the GoFundMe page at the time he died.
No, he did not.
So you don't get it.
Okay.
Any part of it.
Okay.
Your Honor,
The
she already
people-
received funds from the GoFundMe as well.
Just a second. The people that set up the GoFundMe page, I assume, were classmates of your brothers?
Yes, they were his other fourth-year medical students that had reached out to me and asked if they could.
Don't tell me what they asked you. They set up a GoFundMe page. Do you have the paperwork for the GoFundMe page? I'd like to see it. Okay, so they raised $39,287.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything that is in writing that makes you either the beneficiary of?
The organizer of
Would you do me a favor, look it up?
Underneath the photo.
It does say that I am the beneficiary listed on there.
Thank you. You're Jessica.
I am.
Okay. Is organizing this fundraiser on behalf of Jessica Crane. That's her.
That has changed. Initially, it was for Joshua Crane, and with the legal
Just show me.
It's never been for.
Show me, just a second. Mrs. Crane.
Yes.
It wouldn't make any difference, but I'm willing to look at something that originally it was on behalf of somebody else.
The reason I'm here today is not because of the GoFundMe.
Your Honor, that's exactly why she's
Just-
here. It's the
just a
money.
sec-
It's always been about the money.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has...
Carol Crane claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
This is your complaint. I'm suing the defendant, Jessica Crane, in the amount of $10,000 for my portion of my deceased son's GoFundMe account and personal items, including my son's guitars and his vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. Now you're not looking for his GoFundMe account.
I never really was, because I never knew the law on GoFundMe. I tried to find out and speak to someone about it and get legal advice, and I could never find anyone.
Well, it's very easy. He didn't own this property while he was alive, so you have no title to it. If they said that they're starting a GoFundMe page in the name of your son to be for the benefit of animal rescue, you wouldn't have any control over that.
No, it was meant for his funeral costs.
Just a second.
Which I also paid
It says,
for, Your
just a
Honor.
second, on behalf of Jessica Crane.
Right.
On behalf of Jessica Crane, just for my own curiosity, I'd like to know. Your son was buried at some point?
He was cremated.
He was cremated.
And I have the receipts. I paid for his obituary, his cremation.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, there were no serious funeral costs.
I got everything donated on my funeral.
That's not true as
Just a second. I'm asking you, Mrs. Crane, did you pay anything for your son's funeral?
No.
Okay, that's all. So it's not as if you had any outlay of money for this. You know what I find sort of troublesome? I find troublesome that his friends, because that sometimes happens, it's human nature, you feel so badly about something, you want to do something, and probably the easiest thing to do is to raise money. And the easiest thing for probably these people who are in their 20s and 30s is to start a GoFundMe page. I mean, it just would seem to me if they wanted to do a scholarship for him at the school, if they wanted to do something else, this is for those people out there who are watching, who are GoFundMe people. I've seen some of the more ridiculous ones, you know, and there are good-natured people out there who see these things and will donate $5 and $10. Oh, my goodness, they need funeral costs. Well, in this case, there were no issues, and almost all this money, $40,000, is left. What are you going to do with it?
So there's a couple things that I planned on doing with it. It's why the money has been sitting in account.
I just want the people who donated this money to know what you're going to do with it. It's not for you to buy anything for yourself.
Your Honor.
That would be ridiculous. That's not what was in their minds. So I want to know who I'm dealing with.
Your Honor, after all of Josh's expenses were paid for, which I paid for using that money. I am very close with the dean at UC Davis, who is a good friend of my brother's as well, and they have talked about setting up a scholarship fund for my brother, and I was going to donate a portion of that money back if UC Davis decides to set that up on his behalf. And then I also wanted to set up scholarship funds for my sons, who my brother was very close with.
So what you're telling me is you're going to give a little to UC Davis for a scholarship in his name, and you're going to use some for your two sons for their education.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really not what it was intended to do. I'm just telling you, it was not what it was intended to do.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's how GoFundMes are set up. People can set them up for an intended purpose, and they're used for anything.
But I'm just telling the people out there, before you spend money on a GoFundMe page, make sure it's going to go to a place where you want it to go and for the intended purpose you want it, which is to somehow celebrate the life of this young man that was cut short so tragically. And it would seem to me, Miss Crane, you don't have to do anything because they made you the beneficiary of this money. But it would seem to me that a stand-up person would take whatever is left of that and create a scholarship in his name at UC Davis, which is where he went to school. I can't order you to do that, but I'm just telling you, and everybody else out there, make sure if you have a good heart and a good spirit, you know where your money is going. Okay, so you're not entitled to any of the money. Now, did you take your brother's guitars?
I cleared out my brother's entire...
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just answer the question. And how many guitars did you take?
3.
Where are they?
They're at my house.
Now, I don't have to do this. Would you like one of your son's guitars?
Yes, very
Would you
much
like
so.
one of your son's guitars? Do you have any of your son's guitars?
None.
Your Honor, my mom has a long history of substance abuse. She's bought gifts for me in the past, and she's pawned them off. And I would like to keep them in my family, so that's where they stay. So that's why I have possession of them, because I don't want them going to a pawn shop.
I was told I could visit one of my son's guitars at her home.
Just a second, do you play guitar?
No. I just want it because it's my son's, and I bought 3 of his guitars for him.
None of these guitars were purchased by her. They're very expensive guitars. My brother purchased
I can't
every one
order
of
her to
these
do
guitars.
anything. I'm just asking her whether she would give you one of the guitars. And she said no. The next thing we have here is a vehicle. Now, tell me about the vehicle.
So Josh didn't have a lot. He was a 4th-year medical student. He has a truck, a Toyota, a 2019 Toyota Tacoma, that he still owes about $14,000 on. I have that here, $13,841.76 on. And at the time, his truck was at the boat launch where they found him. So when I met with the sheriffs, they gave me possession of the keys. They found his keys on his body, and they gave me his keys. So we brought the truck up to where we live in Northern California, took the truck up there, and it's been kept in storage until this is all sorted out. I personally wanted to keep the truck. I have the means to finance the truck in my name. I have the means to make a payment. She does not have the means to make a payment. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a driver's license. She can't provide insurance for it. I mean, she has driving...
That's not particularly relevant. There's $14,000 left on it. Are you employed?
I was until
The answer is either yes or no. Are you employed?
No.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has taken my job, believe it or not.
Actually, I don't believe it.
Your Honor, I work 3 jobs.
Just a second. Actually, I don't believe it.
Okay.
So the answer is, if you can't afford to make the payments on this truck, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to be repossessed by the bank. Have you been making payments on the truck?
I have not made a payment.
Who is the finance company?
Credit union.
Where is the truck currently stored? Give me the address.
I don't have an exact address.
Ann Lynn claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
I want to see the paperwork on the loan. Okay. Sarah, when we finish with this case, call credit union, advise them who has the truck, let them go repossess the truck. We're finished here. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I had an addiction problem, and she's just angry. She's angry at me, and I've tried to make amends. I've tried to get this better, and she won't have it. My daughter got away with taking absolutely everything, and she wasn't entitled to it.
I think that if there's any lesson to be taken away, aside from the fact that you're not supposed to fight, when you lose somebody so young and so vital, the one innocent party is the credit union who loaned him the money to buy the truck. She's been hiding the truck now for 5 months, hasn't made a payment on it. The right thing to do is for her to turn that truck into the credit union, because I can't control that, except that I can advise the credit union where she is, who she is, that she has possession of the truck, and they should go and repossess it. Anyway, it's all very sad. Before you donate money to a GoFundMe page.
Robin Slagle is suing her customer, Jack McCurcheon, for tuition and administrative fees.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2126, Slagle versus McCurcheon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You run a school.
Yes, ma'am. It's a program.
Is it a school or a program?
It's a program.
What's the difference?
The program is not a school where the children come every day. They come twice a week. Parents.
They come twice a week online?
No, we are
in person.
In person, yes.
Okay, so twice a week they are there at a brick and mortar place?
Yes.
And how long have you had this program?
We actually started this program during the lockdown in 2020 spring. So this is at the end of our first semester of our third year.
Okay, and tell me, who runs the program?
I do.
You have an educational background?
I do. I have a master's in education.
Does anybody run the program with you?
I have a staff, but I'm the sole director.
Is this an annual program?
We do operate on a semesterly basis as far as payments, but the classes just roll over from first semester to second semester.
And is there a contract?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to show me the contract that the defendant signed on behalf of his son?
Yes.
Because that's what this case is about.
Yes.
The only interesting part of the case is your son was enrolled in the program. He was terminated from the program for, let's say, misconduct.
That's true.
And it was misconduct that was replicated in violation of the rules at least 3 times.
Kind of.
Not kind of, at least 3 times that you acknowledge.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That's not an okay. That's either a yes or a no. I mean, I read about 3 instances of cheating. You acknowledge that in your answer.
Well, it's different. It's different.
You mean he cheated differently?
No, he didn't cheat differently. That's what, I mean, I can explain.
It was explained in the papers.
Okay.
And you weren't there, so you can't explain. But you acknowledge the fact that he cheated. He was given a warning. You were advised. He cheated again. You were given a warning, and he was allowed to continue. On the 3rd such event, the school terminated him. Is that what I read?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you acknowledge in your papers?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, that's a yes. And he was within a semester. You would pay the tuition and then try to reverse the payment because you paid on a credit card.
Yes, I paid with credit card, yes.
Okay, and then when you got the bill, you challenged that payment, which you had in fact received, and whatever you told the credit card company as a result of what you told them, the payment was reversed and taken off your credit card.
That is correct.
Right. And so they are here now seeking that tuition payment from a court. That's why we're here, to see whether contractually, because this is a breach of contract action, you were obligated to pay the tuition even though your son was not in the program because he was dismissed for cause, which you acknowledge. Are we clear on where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So now I'm going to look at the contract.
I'd like to add that...
Just let me look at the contract first.
Well, if you see contract, they're signed by my party. I want to see it too, because I don't see my name. I sign a contract. That's a statement, probably, or it's a...
It's a payment agreement.
Yeah, yes. That's not a contract.
Yeah, payment agreement is a contract, sir.
But signed by me?
Well, it says signed, Arena and Jack. Okay. Is Arena your wife?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So this says, I understand that payments are due even if classes or memberships are dropped, subject to the refund policy. Well, what's the refund policy, and where is that in writing?
It is on our website, and they signed it. It was a form that they had to sign.
Well, I'd like to see the form that they signed, because I have to see what the terms are of that.
These are the terms of the refund.
Thank you.
That's a screenshot of our website.
No, the website is unimportant to me. You say you have an agreement signed by them. I'd like to see it.
Well, the agreement that we have signed was the installment agreement, so I'm sorry.
Well, I only have one payment agreement. What I said I want to see is a refund policy. You said you have that they signed. I don't see
They don't sign the policy. They sign the agreement. The policy is a written policy.
Well, I would like to see the written policy.
That's what we have on our website, and it's clearly...
No.
No? Okay.
No, what you have to do is you have to incorporate something by agreement in this contract. If you say the refund policy as outlined in the website, because other than that, it's meaningless.
Okay.
You know, you're saying we have a refund policy, and we assume that you looked on the website to see what the policy is.
We also do go over it in parent meetings with the parents.
That you can't do because you have a written agreement.
Right.
And anything that's outside of that agreement, unless it's referenced in the agreement, is inadmissible because the intention of it is to somehow change or modify the terms of your written contract. Okay, so in what month did the defendant's son start the program?
In August of 2021.
And it runs in 2 semesters. And when was he terminated?
He was terminated in February of 2022.
You were in a semester program?
Yes.
So am I correct that the first 2 episodes of cheating were in the first semester?
Yes.
When?
The first one was early in November. It happened to be the 3rd week of our 2nd semester. The next one was a couple of weeks later in the same month of November.
Okay, so the semester had started.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Semester.
Yes. And on what day in February was he terminated?
He was terminated on February 24th, I believe. Yes.
And when you terminated, the defendant, I assume, paid the entire semester's tuition for the 2nd semester.
The 2nd semester, he signed the installment agreement, which is what you have there.
This is a payment agreement.
Right. That's it. He agreed to pay in installments.
No. It says, I agree to pay all charges by due dates according to the payment plan. I don't have a signed payment plan from anybody. Do you have one?
I'm sorry. That's what we use for our signed payment plan.
Well, you should use something different. This is not a payment plan. This says he will pay according to a payment plan. I'm looking for the payment plan. You pay by the month, you pay by the semester. How do you pay?
It's a semesterly fee that's broken into 4 payments, so they don't have to pay it all up front.
Okay.
They can choose to. But
And so when was the defendant's last payment?
they paid through the semester.
Through what semester?
2nd semester.
Okay, so they paid in full.
Through the installment. So what happens is they agree to be automatically billed. And so every month, a certain amount comes out.
Just a second. So what you're saying is when they sign up, they give you authority to pull out from their bank.
Yes.
Whatever the tuition is for that month.
Right.
Okay. And according to your records, when was the last payment that you received for the defendant's son prior to terminating him?
Prior to terminating him, we received a payment in February.
And you terminated him on February 24th?
Yes.
How much was that payment?
It was, have it right here. You know what? I don't know.
$350 every
It was
month.
$300, that's right. $350.
I know, I got charged the extra month, so I know the number.
Okay. So it was $350 that you paid the beginning of February, and he was there in February.
That is correct.
Okay. In what month did you dispute the charge?
Well,
No, not well. I said, in what month?
May. I only realized in May she's been charging.
Just a second.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
It was plagiarized by teachers.
He was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school.
But
you really have to get this through your head.
Slagle, claims her customer, Jack McCurcheon, owes for tuition and administrative fees.
So you paid in February, and your son was there in February.
That is correct.
Did you pay in March?
It was taken out of my account without me knowing, but yes.
Is that $350?
That is correct.
And did you pay in April?
I did pay in April.
Okay. Now, the May payment, is the May payment the payment that you canceled?
No, on the May, I also paid for a May payment. Looking at my statements, I said, why are we paying for the child? He doesn't go to school anymore. And that's when I called them. And then I called my credit card company, explained to what happened. They said, we are going to charge the money back to your account. And that's when I kind of looked through paperwork, and I'm an immigrant in this country. I don't read really well. I can speak. And my son, he's a young guy, and he knows exactly what it is. And that's what I brought him. I said, can you see, do we owe these people money? And if you guys allow it, I can have Alex to explain what here shows.
Just see it. He doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
I'm not new to the country, and I was legally trained, so I don't need your son. I assume you're not legally trained?
I am not.
To interpret something, a piece of paper. So now I will look at the piece of paper that you're relying on, but I want to tell you this, sir. I pay the tuition for a lot of people, a lot, because I have 13 grandchildren in school.
Okay.
I'll take that, Kevin. Thank you, I'm sorry. I know that if one of my kids or grandkids goes to school and gets expelled, and I've paid the tuition because I'm not on a payment plan. Parents send the bill directly. and so I pay the tuition, but I know if one of the kids in November, once I pay the tuition, gets caught cheating on a test or plagiarizing a paper, and he or she is dismissed from the school, they're not going to give me my tuition back, even though he's not in school. I'm not going to get the tuition back for that semester.
That's true.
That's what I'm telling you. I know that. So now I'm going to see what you want me to read that suggests that in this case, even though your son was terminated for cause from the school for cheating.
Dismissal versus termination is different.
No, it's not different at all. It's this exact same thing. Dismissed, terminated, expelled, all the same thing. If you look them up under synonyms for each other in the dictionary, you will find they're all the same. He was excised from the school because he cheated despite multiple warnings. So he was expelled from cause. I just want you to understand that. Did you go to college?
Currently enrolled.
Currently. Stand up. You look like a nice young man. Where do you go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona.
And who pays the tuition?
I do.
Now, what's your first name?
Alex.
Now, Alex, you do know that if you got expelled from college for cheating in the middle of a semester, you wouldn't get your tuition back for that semester. You do know that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Well, that's what we're dealing with
here.
Could
I add something?
Sure.
Well, according to their honesty policy, they made a clear difference between dismissal and expulsion.
I'm going to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what you gave me now acknowledges that you received the refund policy. Thank you very much, because she wasn't able to prove that she gave it to you, but now you gave it to me, so I know you were given the refund policy when you enrolled your son in school.
So we weren't given, but it's something they have it on their website for you to...
Just a second. Well, then you look. You don't have to sign. Then you looked at the website. You gave me this. Do you understand? That's what I mean, legal.
I went and tried to understand.
Well, you should have done it before.
Well,
you were perfectly capable of doing it before.
I signed a contract. I signed and I explained everything.
You just told me 5 minutes ago that you didn't sign any contract. Well, now you acknowledge that you signed the contract. I'm just reading this that you gave me.
A contract has to be a complete contract. If
just
there is
a second,
something...
For somebody who's, not here, not from this country, and doesn't understand things, you seem to understand things very well.
I know the contract has to be completed.
Well, that's very good. A lot of people don't know that.
So if I give a contract for the statement, then I say, go in my website to read about our refund policy. That's not part of the contract. That's their rules, no? I didn't sign refund policy.
You don't have to sign a refund policy. You just have to be aware of it.
if I don't know how to get into website or don't.
You gave me the evidence.
But this was done after everything done. I
I'm
looked
not
into
sure.
it. Okay?
You were certainly aware of how to do it, either before or after.
When I sign contract with someone, I disclose everything, and they initial, and they get copies. I get copies, and that's a legal bonding contract.
Good, but law school did you go to?
None.
Well, there are two things here, but the final piece here says the consequence for academic dishonesty or plagiarism is a score of 0 on the assignment and possibly dismissal from the class.
Okay.
So your son did that in the first semester at least twice. Repeated dishonesty can result in suspension or expulsion. Now you can stand up because your father says he doesn't understand everything. I think he understands everything just fine. But in case he wants to have you there. Now, when you were discussing this with your father, did you have any conversation with him that suggested to him that, you know, if I went to college and I cheated 3 times or 4 times or plagiarized a paper and I was kicked out of school, I wouldn't get my tuition back? Did you tell him that?
No, we had similar talks, but no, nothing on the school. We talked about, for instance, the signing contract for, let's say, a 1-year lease agreement to live somewhere, but if you breach the contract and they decide to kick you out, it's the same thing as expulsion. You're not required to finish the 1-year contract with them. You don't have to continue paying.
If they decide.
What are you kidding?
I am not. If you get evicted from a property, do you have to continue paying the entire year's lease?
Yeah. If you breach a lease, he or she can evict you. And yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease. You have to understand, and your father has to understand, the reason that he was expelled is his fault. And the reason he was expelled had nothing to do with them. It had to do with your father, because you were put on notice that he was plagiarizing and cheating on tests. If what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet.
Slagle has accused her customer, Jack McCurshian, of refusing to pay tuition. Jack claims he is not required to pay because his son was dismissed from her school.
You were put on notice, and instead of being more vigilant, the conduct continued. He lives in your house. How old is he?
14.
14. Well,
I want to ask about this plagiarizing thing, which it is, because remember beginning you asked me 3 times. He was plagiarized by teachers, which I was not.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
Like he was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
Well, then you should have, just a second, then you should have contested it, sir.
Well,
you should have contested it. Did you say?
If they decided they don't want him to be out of the school, they don't want him to be there.
No.
What do you do? I mean, you go
what do you
fight
do?
with them?
What do you do? You pay the tuition for that semester because that's your contractual obligation, and you tell your son you better straighten up. And if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, if I have to take you to a therapist, if I have to find a more rigid school environment, I'm going to do that.
Well, he really didn't
You
cheat.
you really have to get this through your head.
When it says cheating, last time he was expelled from school. Do we have a...
No, don't look at her.
That day he had an excellent score on his math, and his last test was his history, and he forgot to learn the history, and he did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it. Actually, there is no proof he cheated that day.
All right. They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school. How many other students were expelled from the school the semester that this defendant's son was expelled?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in business of keeping children in school.
I guess my son was that bad for her to expel her.
She said they didn't expel any other children. I'm going to ask her, how many children were enrolled in the program at the same time the defendant's son was enrolled in the program?
Approximately 70, 75.
Okay, and of the 70 to 75 students, The only student expelled was the defendant's son.
Yes, ma'am.
That should tell you something, sir. Stop making excuses. Okay. I didn't tell, he didn't look at the paper, he had it underneath him, but he didn't look at it. Well, plagiarizing, so he copied from somebody on a paper that was supposed to be original work, did it once, he did it twice. Do you understand your son has a problem?
Well, we all have problems.
No, I never had a problem being expelled from school, sir, for cheating. I never had a problem being expelled from school for cheating.
I have lied.
I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. All have completed college, some professional school. None of them have ever been expelled for cheating. That's a lot of people.
Do you feel it's fair to expel a child from a school because of
cheating?
Cheating?
Absolutely. Not that I usually let people ask me questions, but the answer is absolutely. Because if 70 children are working hard to get good grades and studying and creating original works when they're supposed to create original works, and your son who's getting a 99 on a math test when he's been getting low scores on tests all of a sudden becomes a shining star one day, and it's a pattern, and then they find another cheat sheet under his bottom. That's something that suggests to the other 70 students that are trying to do the right thing, that it's okay to cheat. And so if you want to cheat on this test to get a 99, it's okay. You can't run a school where you permit kids to mingle with kids who are trying with kids who are cheating. So do I think it's fair? Absolutely. Okay, how much money was reversed by this bank?
$1,050 plus $45, a $15 fee per transaction.
$1,095. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,095. Sir, your problem is not with the plaintiff. Your problem's with your son.
He's like all of us. He made a mistake. And
No, he didn't make one mistake. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I used to say when I was practicing in a different court that if criminals got caught the first time or every time that they committed a crime, they'd stop committing crimes. Problem is, they commit a crime and they don't get caught. And then they commit another crime and they don't get caught. Then they commit the third crime and they get caught and they're brought to court. And their lawyer argues this is their first arrest. Not their first crime, because they can't argue that, but it's a first arrest. So if what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. Okay, we're done here. 1095, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I felt the difference was between the wording, what it means as far as being expelled versus being like sent home.
I'm extremely pleased. This was totally a matter of honesty and integrity. And obviously it stems from the father down to the son.
But he explained that's the same word. And again, that's why you come to court, and she did what she had to do.
We have kids that try to cross the line, come close to that line. But as I mentioned, our instructors are pretty savvy and they're on it, and we can tell pretty much. So
I am happy finally done. It's been a burden. It's been a stress, and hopefully it's done.
Cheaters never win.
So I think it's really important for the plaintiffs, as the runners of a homeschooling system or a schooling system, to have a better contract for the parents that are signing, especially with a payment plan option. There should be exhibits attached to the signature page, not just referencing, oh, we're agreeing that we read the policy from the website. It's just as easy for you to reprint it, attach it, and require a signature, an initial on the bottom, so that you don't have parents like these that say, I never went to the website, I never saw it.
I agree with you.
If you have problems like this, there's no denying the fact that you initialed each page and each policy.
I think that it's a learning experience because they just started the program in 2020. And this is probably the first experience that they've had because he's the first never expelled anybody else. But they'll clean up the contract.
Mary Totsekian is suing her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, for a security deposit, invasion of privacy, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2047, Sosikian versus Hamad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a house.
Yes.
Where?
In Sun Valley.
When did you purchase the house?
I purchased it 4 years ago.
How much did you pay for it?
We purchased it for $585, I believe.
And you sold that house to Mr. Ahmed, what month and year?
We sold it in, I believe it was January.
Of 2022?
Yes.
And you sold it for how much?
$574,500.
Where did you move to?
I moved to Palmdale.
Did you buy something else?
Yes.
And Mr. Ahmed, you took a mortgage out?
Yes.
How much is your mortgage?
I bought the house February 15, 2022, not January, and I pay for it $710,000.
So you paid $710,000?
Yes.
Not $574,000?
No.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I might not be remembering the exact amount.
Well, that's a big, not exactly. 574 to 710 is a big difference.
Yeah, it was 710.
In one case you lost money. In one case, you made money.
It was 710. I apologize.
Okay, so 710.
Yes.
Yes, honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How much is your mortgage payment each month?
$5,100.
Okay, and when you sold Mr. Ahmed the house, you didn't have a place to go, according to your complaint, and you asked for a rent back.
I was in escrow.
But you didn't have a place to go, whether you were in escrow or in an igloo in Eskimo, it doesn't mean anything. You didn't have a place to go.
Correct.
So you asked them if you could stay in the house and rent it from them. How many people are there in your family?
My family, it's 3 kids.
So who was living in the house? You,
It was me, my husband, and I have my 2 sons that are with me. My daughter doesn't live with me.
So you asked if you could rent the house back for a few months. He was nice. He said yes. How much rent did he ask for?
He asked for $4,000.
He asked for $4,000?
Yes, for 3 bedrooms, he asked for $4,000.
Your Honor,
He never,
no.
Just a second. He asked for $4,000 even though his mortgage was $5,100?
$4,000. I paid a whole total together with everything with security deposit, and I paid $12,000.
No. That's not what I'm asking you with security deposit. That's what we're here for your security deposit.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, how much did he originally ask you?
$4,000 was the.
Okay, well, that was pretty generous of him to ask for $4,000, considering his mortgage was $5,100, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall. So that makes him a very nice person to rent it back to you, so that he's at a loss every month of $1,100. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
Great. And what you're doing here is you want your deposit back.
Yes, that's correct.
$4,000. And Mr. Ahmed says that not only did he have to spend $4,000 to fix the damage you and your family caused to the house while you were living there for those few months, but he had to spend an additional $6,000. That's what he says. He had to spend an additional $6,000 because the place was destroyed, because you had a disagreement with him over the date that you were going to be receiving your deposit back. That's his claim. So there were a couple of things that were sort of questionable to me.
I have not damaged, though. I have pictures of the house when I left. There was no damage.
That's fine. You're going to show them to me. Okay. The one thing that I found strange, so now I have the facts straight. So you moved into the house in February?
In the house?
Yes.
Yes.
So you rented in February and March?
Yes.
2 months?
We moved out April 6th.
Okay. Now, you told him you were moving out, and he came to the house to do an inspection. And that was before your move-out date. On what date did you meet together for him to go through the house? And let me refresh your recollection. You came to the house. He walked around with you. And at that time, he said these few things need repair. And there was not extensive damage anywhere. And when he got to the house, he rang the bell and he opened the door and you looked through the house.
Yes.
On what date was that? Do you remember?
The day that I gave him my keys to the door.
No. That's not the date you moved out. That's the date that he came there to do a walkthrough with you, your husband, and or children. I don't know who was there. And
Your Honor, he made a lot of walkthroughs.
No, I'm asking the last one that he made.
The last one?
Yes.
The last one he did, I don't remember the exact date, but he had 4 or 5 walkthroughs.
Do you remember the date? What was the date?
March 23.
And when you went to the house on March 23rd, and they had been living there February, all of February, and most of March. Was the house in pretty good shape on March 23rd? Was it in the same shape on March 23rd when you saw it on April 6th?
Yes, because when I saw the damages of my house, I request her, what is this? I show her.
No, just a second. What did you show her?
About the floor damage, wall damage, and there is.
Oh, well, show me on the pictures that you took on March 23rd.
He probably damaged it himself from his construction that he did.
Just a second.
He did construction while I was living there. For the whole 2 months I was there, he did construction.
You know what I find problematic in both your complaint and
I would
answer?
like to pass my evidence.
Just a second. I'm going to tell you what I find difficult in both your complaint and his answer. That when you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. When you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. Now, he bought the house. He's paid you for the house. You've got $710,000. On the day the house closed, there is no question in my mind that there was a doorbell. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have no right to take anything from that house once it's sold. You're a renter.
Your Honor, I believe I do, because on the document it says the only thing that I'm supposed to leave for him is the washer and dryer and stove.
Madam, that's something. Have you never bought property before, or are you just trying to be obtuse? I would never think I bought and sold dozens of homes. Never in one contract. In all, and I'm a lawyer, my husband's a lawyer, grandchildren are lawyers, my children are lawyers. Not in one contract does it ever talk about a doorbell. It is assumed that you leave the doorbell, that you leave the toilets, that
was not a doorbell, it was a Ring camera.
I don't care if it was a Ring camera, I don't care if it was an MGM camera or a universal picture camera. It's not yours. It's part of the property. You have no right to take it. Period. Put your hand down. Sometimes when it doesn't appear that you're losing, you're supposed to be quiet. Do you understand? You have no right to take certain things. Once the house is sold, nothing there belongs to you. Nothing. You're a renter.
That was before the house was...
Just a second. Are you telling me that when you stayed there after the house was sold, for the 2 months that you lived there, are you telling me you lived without a doorbell? Are you telling me that you lived without a doorbell? No, you lived with a doorbell.
It's a Ring. Your Honor, it's a Ring camera.
I don't care what it is.
It was not the doorbell. It's not the doorbell. It's a Ring camera. You can take it off and take it to your next property. That's something that I bought.
You bought a lot of things in that house, I'm sure. Did you buy wallpaper? Did you buy flooring? Did you buy carpeting? You can't take it. It doesn't belong to you. It travels with the property. When you say it's a Ring camera, when you ring the doorbell, does that activate the Ring camera?
Yes, it does.
And when you took out the whole Ring camera, did you put in a doorbell?
The doorbell was already there. I never touched the doorbell. That's why I took the camera, the Ring camera, because that belongs to me. I bought that. I didn't touch the doorbell. That's part of the house. That's part of the property. It's in the wall.
Can I see a picture of what she took?
My doorbell is not here. Here is the point.
I did not touch the doorbell. Again, he did a lot of remodeling. He probably did all the damages himself. He's trying to blame it on me.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
You're not allowed to take it. Period.
I have a lot of evidence.
You're not allowed to take it now. So I'm starting with your case. You want your deposit back.
Yes.
This gets deducted from your deposit. Did you replace this?
Not yet.
Did you get an estimate for its replacement?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. And not only doorbell, Your Honor. She took the curtain rods and also all the light bulbs.
Just a second.
Okay. Give me some time.
I don't have time.
Can I please explain what really happened and what I went through with this guy from day one?
No.
He let me
right here.
No.
Because I want to prove my case because he's wrong and he's a crook.
No. Madam, you rented the house.
Yes.
For $4,000 a month.
Yes.
A 3-bedroom house.
I paid him
amount. And you paid him the amount. And you stayed there. If there was something wrong with the house, or if you didn't like the fact that he was doing construction there, or he was coming in and out of the house, even though he was renting it to you for $1,100 less than his mortgage payment, okay? You could have moved.
Your Honor, let me just tell you that he promised me from day... He kept texting me over and over, bringing renters to show my side of the place to live. While we were living there, he harassed me every day by text messages and phone calls. Can I show the house? Every single day.
Who cares? I don't care.
But that caused a lot of tension to my family.
I don't care. Move.
She intentionally damaged
Don't tell me
my
what you
property.
intentionally did.
Sure,
These-
this is the damages picture.
I didn't.
Shh. I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy.
Mary Totsekian claims her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, refused to return her security deposit and harassed her. Kazi is countersuing for vandalism.
Now, if you didn't like to live in a place where you were being constantly harassed, you and your husband now have a $110,000 profit from selling your house.
I gave him a $10,000 discount on that property. And he
Did you understand what I just said to you? Move. Say, listen, it's not working out. You're bringing too many people in and out of the house. It's not working for me. Wait just a second. We'd like to move out before. Did you ever say that to him? The answer is no.
Because I had a lease with him.
Did you ever?
Deposit
Just a second.
Yes.
Did you ever say that to him? I would like to give you your property back earlier. We don't need it for 2 months because I don't want to be harassed. We're going to move out into a hotel until our house is ready. But you stayed there.
No, I told him that we can't keep having people come and knock on our door.
Okay.
I made it very
Madam, you're not getting compensated for that. You're a big girl. You made a lot of money on this house. You asked for a deal for him to rent it back to you. He said, fine. He's going to tell me that he wanted to have his mortgage covered, and you were not prepared to do that, and you were not prepared to do that.
Your Honor, let me just tell you, the living situation for that 2 months that I was there was hell with him. He caused me all kinds of anxiety. The last day when I was supposed to give him the keys so I can leave, he opened the door and started arguing with me in front of my 11-year-old kid. He made him cry. He caused a lot of trauma to our family.
Your Honor, her son was not
He's a
there.
monster. He doesn't care about anything else. And then he did remodeling. Now he's trying to get the money out of me to pay for it because he's broke. That's
Okay, first of all, this comes off the deposit, and then I want to see the estimate.
All I want is my $4,000 security deposit.
Well, I'm not sure you're going to get it.
His rent on time, just like a good renter.
Okay.
But all I wanted was my deposit back. That's it.
On March 23rd of this year, when he came to do an initial walkthrough with you before you were leaving, did you discuss deposit? The answer is yes.
I made it
Just
very
a second.
clear.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And at that time, did he say to you, this needs fixed, this needs fixed? Did he say anything to you? Nothing. Did he tell you that he had, by law, 21 days to return your deposit?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say to him?
I said, that's fine, I will wait the 20 days, but he
No, just a second.
Yes.
You said it was fine. I'll wait the 20 days.
Yeah, to get my deposit, yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
I have every text that we sent to each other.
I'm not reading every text that you sent to each other. I'm asking you after March 23rd. Go to your March 23rd texts.
I do have here.
He basically said
basically. I said go to your March 23rd and thereafter
I highlight,
text.
Your Honor, for you.
After March 23rd.
Yes.
Go to you have text messages? That's
Yes,
what you
it's all
said. You're
here.
looking at me.
Okay. I have a March 23 here. He led me on in the text messages saying that you help me pay my mortgage, I will help and give you a security
I'm
deposit
asking you to show me
It's
the
right
text messages after March 23rd.
This is the March 23rd.
And thereafter, you pay deposit back when there isn't any damage to the house. You don't use my deposit for anything else. You hold it for damages. Here is the notice. I would like you to meet with you and your husband. Please let me know when you are available. Please don't threaten me with my deposit.
I wasn't.
He was threatening me.
I wasn't.
Just a, please don't threaten me. You mean threaten me with my deposit. Can you show me where on the contract it says the washer and dryer stays?
That I found it stays, and we did leave it there.
She tried to take with her that too.
Again, Your Honor, I'm just here for my deposit because I did my responsibilities and paid the rent. I was a good tenant. I kept the house beautifully clean and everything. I deserve my deposit back. That's why I'm here. I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to see him ever again. I just want my deposit.
I know what you want.
That's it.
That's why we're in court. If he felt as if you deserved your deposit, he would have
And if
given you.
I left the house perfect, he needs to give it to me because I didn't do no damages to that property.
Okay.
He's lying.
Can you show me where the contract says the washer and dryer stays, because I don't see it? I made it very clear to everyone that I paid for it, that it's going with me.
That was before I looked at the document.
Just a second.
Yes.
So that's before you looked at the document.
Yes.
When did you look at the document?
I looked at it. It was at home when I noticed it.
Did you respond to him after the 23rd and say to him, I realize that the washer and dryer
No,
stays?
because he's been threatening me constantly. Why am I going to respond to him? He's been a monster.
Can you please show me photographs of what the house looked like?
He's been a complete monster,
Show me
Your
what.
Honor.
Just a second. Show me what the house looked like on April 6th.
This is the pictures I have. This is what it looks like. Perfect
Just
little house.
Don't speak. Just show me.
I'm just trying to say that I'm not here for anything empty. I'm here for my deposit.
No, that's not what you're here for, just your deposit, madam. That's not what you filed a claim for. An invasion of privacy and pain and suffering. There's a whole bunch of things that you're suing for. Okay, I see these pictures.
The house is in
just a second.
great shape.
Just a second. And is this your little dog?
Yes, it is. The house is in great shape. He has no complaints.
He's going to show me pictures. I'm going to look at them.
I deserve my deposit back. That's all I know. He wasted my time. He lied through me.
Can I see your photographs of what the house looks like?
Your Honor, this is the picture when I bought the property with good condition.
Okay.
And this is the picture for she intentionally damaged.
Don't tell me what you intentionally did.
Sure, this is the damages picture.
I didn't do that.
I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy. Anybody who takes out a doorbell ring or whatever it is and leaves holes and mollies in the wall, which is exactly what you did, just like the washer and dryer. Okay.
Your Honor, this is the previous.
Don't speak. Okay. Now I'd like to see the photographs that you took April 6th or thereafter. When did you take those photographs? On what day?
I start March 23rd to April 6th.
I'd like to see the photographs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, some of this damage, sir, that were in the door hinges, that's not damage that they did. That's not damage that I can ascribe to them. There are some holes in the walls. I know you're showing me this. That you have to deal with.
I sold my property to him as is. I did have tenants there. I'll tell you right now.
No, I want to know what rent the tenant was paying you. That's a number, not a story.
Mary Totzikian accuses her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, of keeping her security deposit and harassing her. Kazi claims Mary vandalized his house before she left.
Okay, I don't know what this is that you're showing me in this picture.
Because there is a water leak from there. So the water goes in the cabinet inside.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume that you have some sort of insurance because they didn't do this damage.
Okay.
They didn't do this damage when they were there. I would like, sir, to see some of the pictures before and after. This is moldy and it's dirty. So they didn't clean the bathtub. Where are you living now, sir?
With my mom.
And who's living in the house?
I rented out.
What's the name of the people that you rented the house to?
It's Walter.
When did you rent it? On what date?
I don't remember exact date.
Well, you'll remember. You remember everything else. You remember April 6th. You remember March 23rd. Now remember what day they came.
Okay. June.
So actually the house was, just a second, so actually the house was unrented for about a month and a half.
Right. Because I...
Shh, not a because. Now, how much did you rent the house for to Walter?
$4,000.
Could you explain to me why you're renting it to somebody for less than what you pay in your mortgage?
Sure. So here is the American dream, because I came here 2013 and I started live with my mom. So me and my wife working so hard to buy the house. We save every penny day by day, and we saw a lot of house last couple years.
I'm not listening. Don't tell me your life story. I want to know why you're renting the house for less than your mortgage payment.
Because no, the people is very nice, and they said they're going to increase the rent January. They give me $5,000. That's why.
Do you have a lease with them?
I do.
You have a lease with them, and
yes.
Does the lease indicate that the rent is being raised in January?
Yes.
What?
That whole thing that he said that his place was not rented for a month, that's a lie, because he was renting the place out while I was living there. So he had renters all in the backside.
Just a second, you mean they were living with you?
They were living in that back house. That house is split with the wall, so there's empty rooms in the back. So he was literally renting it out, boom, boom, like right away.
Just a second.
While I was there.
Is what you're telling me that there are two sources of income from that house?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Mr. Ahmed.
Yes.
Listen to me carefully.
Sure.
How many tenants do you have in that house?
3.
Shh.
Oh.
Look at me.
Sure.
How many tenants? You have Walter,
Yes.
and he pays you $4,000.
Yes.
You have another tenant.
Yes.
Okay, and the other tenant is in the back.
Yes.
And what does the other tenant pay you?
Okay. The one.
No, that's a figure.
Oh,
what does
okay.
the other tenant pay you? Don't look up there. You know exactly how much?
3,000.
3,000. So you cover your mortgage, and you make a little money.
Yeah.
Now, while she was living there, pay attention.
Yes.
While she was living there, were you renting the back?
Yes.
Yes. And how much were you getting?
Okay.
That's a number. Okay. Before you answer the question, think. How much were you getting from the people in the back?
Same.
Same what?
Because that's not my.
But just a second. What do you mean the same? The same as what?
The people used to live there long time with her. That's her tenant, not mine. She just transferred to me.
I see. So you had a tenant living in the back.
Yes.
You had a tenant living
Yes,
in the
Your
back.
Honor.
And what was the rent that you were charging your tenant?
I sold my property to him as is. I did have tenants there. Yes,
Yep.
I did. And one of the tenants, I'll tell you right now,
No, I want to know what rent the tenant was paying you.
That's what I'm saying.
Just give me that's a number, not a story.
1,000, and I would say 2,000 altogether.
Sounds to me as if everybody did very well. You have to pay for the doorbell. Now I want a receipt for the doorbell. The rest of the pictures are nonsense. And you had no loss of income. Just a second.
Yes, Honor.
I want the estimate for the doorbell. That's what I want. That's going to be deducted from the. Put your hand down. Otherwise, you're gone. Do you understand? Doorbell.
$84.
$84.
Yes, something like that.
Do the math for me. I think it's $3,900, whatever. $4,000 less 84.
$39.16.
$39.16. Sir, I've looked at your photographs, and I don't see any damage that you can ascribe to the plaintiff that I think mitigates in your favor, other than the doorbell, which I actually find outrageous.
Right, Your Honor.
And you had no loss of income. So clearly what you did was purchase this house, and you make an income from this house every month.
After I pay my mortgage, and there is a service, like expenses, and also there is a like utilities bill is so expensive now.
I don't care. $39.16. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaims dismissed. We are finished with this case.
Right.
Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
I deserve my security deposit back. I did very well with paying the rent, and I feel like this was fair.
I'm not happy about it because I'm the buyer and I bought the house. There is a lot of damages after she moved out.
He was pretty much texting and having renters come and knock on my door every day without even giving me a notice ahead of time.
I was always giving to her 2-3 days notice to go in the property.
It was not easy, but you know, we moved on to something better, so.
Still living in the American dream.
You know, this case is sort of an example of you read a complaint and you read an answer, and you sort of have a predetermination of what the case might look like and how that shifts. Because when I originally saw these people, I said, you know, she took the doorbell and the ring thing with her. Why? And it was with the washer and dryer. She said, I'm taking it. But it was in the contract that it stayed. But then when I got to know both of these people, Sarah, they were both a little bit of hustlers. Nobody told me up front that there was a back apartment that they rented. And I said, why was this guy being such a good guy?
Yeah. And he didn't say, well, actually, I'm not that great of a guy. I rent the backside and cover my expenses.
I rent the back for $3,000 and it all covers his expenses. They actually, both of them, deserved each other a little bit. He didn't deserve another $6,000 in addition to the $4,000 because I didn't see that much in damage. I mean, you looked at some of the pictures.
I saw some of the photos, and it looked like
holes, you know, from pictures in the wall.
But not like what he was describing in his answer, like punched holes in the wall and ripped up flooring. We didn't see any of that.
There was no.